All right, well, this is officially it. Brian Hoyer has descended upon the great town of Spokane, Washington again. He is someone I consider to be, and general consensus actually amongst a lot of the biohacking community, kind of like the go-to guy when it comes particularly to EMF shielding. Now, there's a term called building biology, which I think a lot of times is improperly associated with this whole concept of EMF shielding. Building biology is a whole. How would you describe building biology versus EMF shielding, Brian?
Well, there's a lot of overlaps. I wasn't formally trained by Building Biology Institute, but trained by Geobiological Institute. So my focus kind of started as a health practitioner, and so we're kind of focusing on this more as a biohacking way to fix the house. Right. And it's not just focused on the house, it's focused on the person, and also earth frequencies and the interaction of man-made frequencies outside the building that are coming into the building.
Right. Cell phone towers, flicker from internal or external lighting, right. Devices that might be scattered around the house, smart appliances, just spans the gamut. But basically anything that could affect, what Jerry Tennant in his book, Healing Is Voltage, or Robert Becker in his book, The Human Battery, outline as affecting the actual electrochemical potential of the human body, whether that be a retina or a red blood cell. You basically go through someone's house and analyze soup to nuts. Mm-hmm. Not the actual soup and the actual nuts, I hope. I hope that mine aren't emitting EMF radiation. Everything that could be affecting someone's biology. Now, if you guys are watching or listening to this very special podcast, because we're going to do an extremely thorough analysis of my own home, and you're going to learn a ton along the way. A couple of things. First, I'm going to put everything we discuss, because there will be very comprehensive show notes. If you go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/shielded healing podcast, that's bengreenfieldfitness.com/shielded healing podcast, then you'll have access to all the show notes. And furthermore, at that URL, bengreenfieldfitness.com/shielded healing podcast, I will link to the very first podcast I did with Brian, because in that show we laid down a lot of the basics that I think a lot of you are probably aware of right now, like how a Wi-Fi router could be harmful, or what might a cell phone when you're holding it up by your ear might do. So we're kind of past that basic stuff now, and what we want to do for today's episode is just go through the home and identify everything in a kitchen, in a gym, in an office, in a bedroom, in a sleeping environment, in a working environment that could affect your energy during the day, your cellular function, your mitochondria, even, and I realize this gets out there, but even your risk for certain things like cancers, for example, as we know that there's emerging evidence that a lot of these things can be carcinogenic. So bengreenfieldfitness.com/shielded healing podcast is where you're going to be able to find pretty much any note that I take today. I will put it over there, from the meters that are used to Brian's website to our former podcast to everything. So what do you think, Brian? Did I cover it?
Yep.
I didn't really lay down a very good introduction of you, but basically we'll put a more comprehensive bio for Brian, but long story short is he is the man when it comes to EMF shielding, and you're gonna learn that pretty quick here, because I would imagine where we're gonna start is to explain all these crazy things you've laid out on the table. So, so we'll do that, and then we're just gonna start to tackle things as you guys watch or listen, room by room by room at the Greenfield house. So, Brian, take it away, man. What do we got here? What are we looking at?
All right. Well, whenever we come into a house, I did this myself for about 2 years, and then I realized that there's so many people that need help. So I trained an entire team to do this. And we have about 6 people that go all over the country. So we have 6 stressors, basic stressors that we look for in every single home. Okay. And so I've kind of got all of my equipment laid out here in the order of what we test. So this one is pretty much the only meter that I need to test magnetic fields. And this comes from if there's a motor running. So we'll test this by the fridge, by an induction stove. Also, if there's any wiring errors in the house, this will pick that up. when there's unbalanced current in the wires. So if a house is properly wired to code, you don't have unbalanced current because there's the same amount going through a circuit that's going back to the board. And so you want that to be balanced, and when that's balanced,
the mere
cancels
fact that
out.
I was not responsible for wiring the house gives us a pretty good luck. We're going to find out if we need to call up the electrician and curse him out. So that's the NFA 1000. That one's actually testing for whether or not the home is properly wired.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then sometimes, people that are concerned about the outside power lines, if they're affecting the house, or those big substations that have all the transformers, this would be the meter that you have for that.
Okay.
And then also this one's around, I think, $2,000 to $3,000 for this one.
Okay, this big yellow NFA 1000.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one measures a triple axis magnetic field as well, and it also measures the wireless frequencies. So this one's a more affordable one.
And what's the name of this meter?
This one's called the ESI 24.
Okay, the ESI 24. Got it.
And this is one that we actually sell on the website, and we'll have that link in the show notes.
Okay.
And you turn it on, and it measures 3 things at once. So this one's one that I'll probably have your boys use to kind of experiment going around the house and testing different things in their room.
Cool.
And it also measures electric fields, but you have to be grounded, and we'll talk about that when we kind of get to this meter. But if you're looking for something that measures magnetic fields, it's accurate, this would be the more affordable one. This one is around $300.
This ESI 24.
Yeah, the ESI 24.
Got it.
And it measures 3 different things.
Okay. 3 different things being the magnetic fields, the electric fields, and what's the last one?
And the wireless frequencies.
And the wireless frequencies, okay.
Yep.
Which would be emitted from like a cell phone, for example.
From a cell phone, Wi-Fi router,
Okay.
cell phone
Got it.
towers. Yep.
Cool. Okay.
So magnetic fields, number 1. And then electric fields, number 2. So that's what these ones measure. And then we'll also be measuring the body voltage in the bed, at your workspace, places where you spend a lot of time.
The primary difference, just because I'll ask the dumb questions myself so people don't have to embarrass themselves by asking, difference between an electric field or a magnetic field. If you could explain that to, let's say River and Taryn up there listening in, my 12-year-old boys, how would you describe to a 6th grader the electrical field versus the magnetic field? Yeah,
so the magnetic field is due to the current that flows, but every electromagnetic frequency has an electric part and a magnetic part. And because it's such a low frequency, the current and the voltage are actually kind of separated in a way. And so you can measure them separately, and you block them in different ways. So we know that voltage goes to the lowest potential. Mm-hmm. And when you ground something, it can block an electric field. Mm-hmm. It doesn't block the magnetic field when you ground something. Mm-hmm. So the magnetic field will kind of pulse right through that. The current will flow right through.
But what is the difference between an electric field and a magnetic field?
So a magnetic field is like when you're measuring it, you will measure it about a certain distance out. And if you're out of that field, then you're good. You're in a safe zone. An electric field will travel along anything that's conductive.
Okay. I got you.
So it's more like a virus. We can talk about viruses right now.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to dive into that. But so a magnetic field essentially will be radiating out from a device via the principle of magnetism, whereas an electrical field must travel through a conductive material and, for example, come into contact with your body in order to produce some type of effect, whereas a magnetic field doesn't even need to be in contact with your body. Right. It's instead traveling almost through the air, through waves.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because your body's conductive, it will conduct voltage. And by the way, both of these things are pulsating, which is not something that's found in nature.
We don't see pulsing electrical fields or pulsing magnetic fields in nature.
Right.
So even if you're outside walking barefoot on the earth and absorbing what people talk about, like the Schumann resonance, for example, that's not a pulsing resonance frequency.
It's not a pulsed modulated. So there's pulse modulation that happens. 60 hertz is a modulated frequency.
Got it.
It's like pulsing 120 times back and forth per second.
Okay, and devices like electronics, those produce a pulsing field.
Yes.
And that's what we're concerned about because that pulsing is what can affect things like the say the voltage gated calcium channels on a cell to allow for an influx of calcium and kind of a messing up of the actual normal electrical gradient that should occur in a cell, whereas a non-pulsing field is not going to produce that type of effect?
It can, and it does, because the body does produce voltage.
Okay.
The issue with the pulsing is it's going back and forth, so it's going in two directions, and really three directions, because it's also going in like it's going up and down and then forward.
Okay.
You know? So there's three different directions that is jostling the cells, and if you think about how a magnet works, magnetism affects pretty much every mineral in some way. And we have lots of essential minerals in our body, and if those are pulsing back and forth and the magnetism is going back and forth and jostling the minerals around on this cellular level, on the mitochondrial level, then you have dysfunction. It's not something that your cell has been evolved or created to
all the more
to withstand.
aggravated if you also have metal overload. From what I understand, a lot of people with high load of metals tend to be even more electro-hypersensitive, which is a thing now, this concept of electro-hypersensitivity. I see it now over and over again in people who I talk to have low energy levels. When they're tested, they tend to have high metal. A lot of times they tend to have things like mold and mycotoxins and biofilm that seem to be able to better overtake the body when it's in that state of sympathetic stress and constant arousal due to the presence of a lot of these EMF fields. And I'm not quite sure what comes first, the chicken or the egg, whether having mold, mycotoxin, biofilm, poor methylation status, et cetera, renders one more susceptible to the electrohypersensitivity, or vice versa. Someone who's electrohypersensitive and in that sympathetic state all the time is more susceptible to infection.
Right.
It might be both, but ultimately we know it's an issue, and it's a growing issue. One other question before we get back into the meters, and that is another one I know people might be wondering, because there's this concept of pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, or PEMF. I own several devices that are used for inflammation, for recovery. I got a massage while lying for 2 hours on one last night, but that by definition is a pulsed EMF field.
Right.
Now, what's the difference between that and say like a cell phone?
So when you're talking about pulsed electromagnetic fields, there's actually been a lot of research by Dr. Robert O. Becker, and there's another guy, his name is slipping my mind right now, but I think it starts with a P, Dr. Pilla, P-I-L-A.
Okay.
That might be it. But they talk about how the fields can be used in beneficial ways therapeutically and have an effect biologically on the tissue. The issue between a cell phone and a PEMF device would be that the cell phone is not modulated in a way to be a healing frequency or any kind of therapy. It's just modulated to send data, and the data is sporadic and random. And it's not at the right frequency, it's not at the right modulation or anything like that. So the PMF devices are used for a specific reason on a specific part of the body.
Typically from about 3 up to 100 hertz is what's used in a PEMF device.
Right. Yeah, and so we're operating these at 60 hertz, and it's not an analog frequency, which most of the PMF devices actually are analog and not modulated, pulsed. They're pulsed, but not as fast as what these different frequencies that are surrounding us are pulsed at.
Okay, got it. So we're talking about these faster frequencies emitted by devices such as cell phones, also not targeted to be one specific frequency, but bouncing around in terms of the pulsing effect, as opposed to these targeted therapeutical devices, which are typically like a lower frequency and sticking at that one frequency the whole time.
Right. Yeah, they're very different. And the overlap with those, though, is that a lot of the PMF devices also use the pulsed frequency to run. So if you plug it into a wall, you have to also think about, okay, I'm plugging this into a wall for this therapeutic benefit. So if you think of it like a scale, the therapeutic benefit on this side with any kind of device that you have, and then over here is the stress side. So you plug it into a wall, you're using the 60 hertz electrical that has all these harmonics and dirty electricity on it, and you're plugged into that, and that electricity is used to power the device. If that device isn't shielded from those, you're also adding a stress, even though you've got the therapeutic pulsation that the device is emitting.
Right.
So that's where a lot of these companies kind of need to get on board and say, okay, the pulsed field that we're producing has been proven to be therapeutic. We have a lot of tests showing that. Well, what happens if you also block the negative stuff that you're using to power that device?
And so as we're doing the analysis today, we could probably test some of these devices and see if potentially there are cons along with the pros. If you have, the actual, for lack of a better word, the motor that's running the therapy device that you're using, if that motor is harming you, well, the therapy device is helping you. That's a question of, what do you do about that? How far can you be from the device?
Right, yeah.
So yeah, we should test some of that today and see.
Definitely.
All right, so what else do we have here as far as meters are concerned?
So along with the electric field body voltage that we test the body current. And that's the dirty electricity that's on the ground conductors in the house. Mm-hmm. And we test to see if that's just another type of measurement that we take. So we got magnetic, electric, and then there's dirty electricity. Over here we test the lines for thousands of different frequencies that are riding on the 60 hertz electrical system. Mm-hmm. And there's different filtration devices that can be used. We also block that when we recommend shielding recommendations for a bedroom or
so this would test things for, like, for example, power surges if you're on a local power supply coming from a substation, that type of thing.
Yeah, it'll test power spikes, surges, mm-hmm. Things that even like vacuum cleaners make, mm-hmm. Fluorescent lights, solar panels, inverters, those sorts of things, which we'll get into way more in depth later.
Got it.
And yeah, those are really simple plug-in devices that have different bandwidth that we test with that. So there's we got the magnetic fields, electric fields, dirty electricity, and then we have the wireless frequencies. So that's number 4 here. Mm-hmm. And
you have a lot of meters for these wireless frequencies.
Yeah.
Why so many? Is this just because you wanted to show off all the meters, or is there one that you think that you primarily rely upon?
Well, I bring all these because I've found that I need a different device depending on what I find. I come into a situation, I don't know what I'm going to be in, mm-hmm. what kind of situation I'm going to be in. Whether it's an electromagnetic soup of New York City, Los Angeles, mm-hmm. or out in the country here in
the pristine forest of Spokane, Washington, we'll see what we can find.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm not too shocked.
So sometimes there's so much interference that I'm not able to lock into a frequency with certain meters. So I have different meters that I use for different things with that. And then, I need all of these to measure. And anytime we can take a body measurement, I want to do that because we're concerned about how the body's reacting to these fields.
Okay, got it. So in summary, the 6 different things you're measuring are?
We've got electric fields, magnetic fields, dirty electricity, wireless frequencies. We got artificial light, which we'll test. So we test the flickering of the light.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we also are concerned about the spectrum of the light. Okay. So those are the 2 things with light that we want to match the outdoor environment with the indoor environment. And then the last thing is the geopathic stress.
The geopathic stress actually emitted by we talked about this a little bit in the last podcast, but explain that briefly to folks, what a geopathic stressor is.
So geopathic stress is kind of the more naturopathic or homeopathy term for energy that's coming up from the earth. The more scientific term, if you want to look at it in the literature, is called telluric currents, Telluric.
Okay.
And that's been scientifically measured, since basically geology. And they've had equipment to measure those things. And it's the conductivity of the different layers of the Earth's crust and how like one mineral, you can take a mineral like silver and zinc, and those, like, there's actually some studies that were done on some amphibians, and you can induce a current just by touching one side of a frog to the other side of the frog, and it can keep a almost dead frog's heart pumping for like 2 minutes. Just by having the 2 dissimilar metals touching. Mm-hmm. And so when there's interactions in the Earth's crust, there's a current when metals are touching. So if there's a fault line, if there's water that's breaking the different layers of the Earth's crust and it's mixing the minerals together, there's different currents that can come up in energy that can be detectable, that'll come up, and it can actually be detrimental if there's too much of it in one area versus other areas.
And is this why, and again, I realize this gets a little woo-woo for folks, but is this why, in a lot of indigenous cultures and lore of old and ancient tales, that some areas of the earth are considered to be like healing spots, like hot springs or places where people would go and and travel for some type of religious or meditative experience, whereas others are places where people might park and camp out for the night and find they're getting nightmares and bad dreams and poor sleep and this kind of weird stress.
Yeah, exactly. So the most common thing that people can look back to and think about is like the Chinese tradition of feng shui. Mm-hmm. That was actually rooted in earth energies, and they believe that the earth has meridians, these lines, call them dragon lines. And then there's this practice of earth acupuncture where you stick a metal stake in the ground to reroute the energy in a different direction if it's bad, or reroute the good energy in a good direction.
No kidding. Well, I have a metal stake in the ground outside downstairs that feeds via cable into my office onto this grounding mat that I stand on while I'm working. So we can maybe test a little bit of that too, and look into some of these grounding and earthing technologies and see if those are a good thing or a bad thing. I'm curious to have you check out that as well.
Definitely.
Wow. Okay. Well, that is a lot to get started with, and you have all this equipment laid out on the table. You walk into somebody's home. Where do you start? You just pick a room and start to go at it?
Yeah, because we've done an assessment with you before, we kind of already have a lot of baseline information. Yeah. So usually I'll start off with the magnetic fields. I'll just click this on, and it'll start clicking. And if there's a wiring issue in the house, I know right away just by raising it up, taking it down.
Right now it's clicking at a relatively even rate, and what you would be listening for is some type of a rapid increase in the click rate.
Yeah, and there's a digital readout on here. So this says 0.35, and we're measuring milligauss. So
and in terms of milligauss, what would be something that would be considered unharmful?
In the daytime,
or rather harmful.
In the daytime areas, we want 0.5 or lower.
Okay.
For bedroom, we want around 0.3 or lower.
Okay, so right now it's 0.35 here in the living room.
That's right.
So when you pull that thing out and you see that that's the amount of magnetic field here in the living room, do you then say, okay, what could be generating this amount, 0.35? And then how do you go about testing for something like that?
Yeah, so then we just walk around. We just kind of start scanning the room and seeing where the meter leads us.
All right, so do you want to start right here? Do we start in the living room?
Yeah, we can start there.
Since we're here already.
And then I also usually bring a wireless device with me just to kind of see what's going on in here, which I'm not going to do right now because we're wired up, so I'm just going to leave that here for now.
Okay, so there are certain things that you'll do when we're not mic'd up just so that the mics don't interfere with.
Right.
And I noticed, by the way, practicing what you preach, and I'm feeling bad now, you, with your lav mic controller, actually have this little Faraday bag that you put yours into in your back pocket. I actually have one of those Faraday bags down in my office, so you're actually a fan of these type of devices. Like I have one here, like this is a Defender shield that my phone is inside. Mm-hmm. Are you a fan of these kind of cases or bags to protect devices that you're wearing?
Yeah, I like the bags more than the cases because they just have a better shield from what I've tested.
Right. Okay. But do these type of phone cases, for example, do anything from your testing?
Yeah, they can either make it really good or they can make it worse in some cases because you're putting metal right in front of the phone and sometimes in front of the antenna. So you have to be really careful. And you also have to know where your phone is being connected to. Mm-hmm. And there's some apps you can download on your phone like Open Signal, and there's some other ones where you can actually find out the direction. And I always recommend this at people's house. Find out what cell phone tower your phone is connecting to, and then orient yourself so that you're between the cell phone and the tower and you have the best reception possible. Because if your reception is good, your phone's not going to blast out as much of a signal to connect to the tower.
That's commonly known it should be commonly known, the lower the bar on your cell phone, the more radiation it's emitting trying to find a signal.
Yes.
So the better signal you can find in your house in terms of work on your cell phone, that's going to be ideal. Now what we have now at our house is most of the rooms have these cables that allow us to plug our phones into the Ethernet. So we just bought a bunch of iPhone to Ethernet cables.
Yep.
And whenever you want to connect your phone for an app download or a higher bandwidth use of the phone, you just plug it straight into the Ethernet cable.
Yep.
And you can put it in airplane mode. It works fine.
Yeah, it's great. And there's the same thing for people that have Android phones. Mm-hmm. There's options for that. So those are some of the recommendations that usually after an assessment, I make reference to all these different things, and we have an email we send out with links to all the
Yeah,
the different
you
accessory
sent out
products.
a pretty comprehensive report last time.
Yep.
All right, cool. So, what do we do now? What's the first step?
Well, let's
start in the living room.
Yeah, let's go around and just kind of see if there's any magnetic field things going on in the living room. We might not find anything, but we will probably find something in the kitchen, and if we get lucky, the fridge will be running.
All right, cool.
So,
sounds good. Hey, River and Taryn, you guys can come follow us around if you guys want to see how this device works.
Here, I'll actually turn the volume up too, so we can get some more dramatic.
And for any of you who are listening to this podcast, like I mentioned, we're video recording this whole thing, and this is the type of show, if you are listening in, I would recommend you go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/shielded healing podcast and watch some of the video too, because it's going to be super informative for you. Some of this stuff is hard to visualize when you're listening.
So yeah, that's a good point. So what I like to do in an assessment is try to help people visualize it. I make the invisible visible, and also the inaudible audible. And that helps people who are somewhat skeptical to understand what's going on and to see it. Because this stuff we can't see, we can't hear it. And it's really important to be able to show people what's going on. So you want meters that make the most sound and have the most visual stimulation so that you can convince people and show them how it's actually affecting the body. So there's not really an issue here in the living room that I'm detecting.
Now, there is one device in the living room, and I'll point this out as we go through. There are certain, people are always sending me these so-called personal protection devices, or things that are supposed to help with protecting the body or with mitigating the effects of EMF. And this one right here, sitting on top of the piano, it's called the Concerto, and this is supposedly supposed to offer some kind of EMF protecting effect when placed in a room. So are you able to test something like that at all, see if it's effective or even see if it's ineffective?
Well, I can test to see.
It's obviously producing a huge amount.
It's producing magnetic field when you get really close.
Yep. Now,
so you wouldn't want this right next to your bed, for instance, where your head is.
Now, what about if River or Taryn were sitting at the piano, playing the piano, they're about 2 feet from this device, that might be affording some protection, but as you alluded to, as you get very, very close to the device, the protection is offset by the amount of radiation that it actually produces.
Yeah, it can.
In this case, magnetic radiation, right?
Yeah, I would say it can be offset by it if it's too close. Because really, right where they'd be sitting, we're about 0.3. If I get about maybe 8 inches away, it goes up to 0.5.
And is there a way to test whether or not something like that is effective as advertised, is doing what it's supposed to be doing, besides paying attention to whether you sleep better when it's in your house or whether your blood inflammatory markers might go down or something self-quantitative like that? Do you have a device that can measure the effectiveness of something like that?
Well, usually what I have to know about, I have to know more information about the device to test it. So if it purports to block magnetic fields, for instance, I would say probably not, because it's creating a magnetic field.
Right.
And then if it's purporting to protect from wireless, we'd need to test it with a different meter.
Let's see if this literature on top of no, these are the instructions for tuning the drum. Yeah, it doesn't exactly say, but it's called a Light Rhythms Concerto. We could look it up. Here, I'll look it up as you're going around testing a few other things in the room, and I'll let you know what it supposedly says that it does on its website.
Yeah, so we can maybe pull out a different meter or a few different meters and test that. But I'm just going to go in the kitchen now and see if there's anything going on. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and open the fridge, and the freezer, see if we can get the fridge to run so I can show people what that does. Got some goat milk in here, some good healthy food.
Sprouts.
Lots of sprouts, yeah. All right.
Yeah, so what it says about this Concerto, Brian, is that it works quietly against the effects of cell phones, smartphones, tablets, and Wi-Fi polluted areas, and relieves from EMF stress, increasing productivity and concentration while guarding against the negative effects of electromagnetic fields.
Okay.
And that's what it says it's doing, counteracting the negative effects of electromagnetic radiation by creating a coherent field that reduces the effects of EMF pollution.
Okay.
So what say you to that, Brian?
All right. Well, I say that it's hard to any device that I've seen that talks about creating a harmonic field or a coherent field, they've not been able to show, in my experience, that that's actually being created with any kind of equipment.
Now, could you, for example, I mean, what if you were to put a cell phone next to that that's producing a field, and then what would you test? Because I can take my cell phone right now and set it over there.
Yeah, we can. So we'll.
So we're going to test one of these so-called EMF protection devices. Not that they're all created equal, but they all kind of, sort of say they do the same thing. So my phone's in airplane mode right now.
Okay.
I'm going to take my phone out of its little protective case just to get the full effect. This is the iPhone 11, which supposedly does produce a pretty high amount of radiation, but it's in airplane mode right now.
Okay. So we've also got this is actually a perfect example because we got the wireless lav mics on as well.
Okay.
So you can see I'm almost maxing out my body voltage meter with these.
So you're testing your own body voltage.
Body microvoltage.
Body microvoltage.
For radio frequency radiation.
Okay.
Yep. So we're measuring the body as an antenna.
Okay. And then are you saying we flip this off and see if your body voltage is just as high?
Yep.
Okay. So right now your body voltage, as you're standing next to this thing with it on and lav mic's producing, should I turn my cell phone on too?
Yeah, go ahead and turn your cell phone on.
So I'm going to flip the cell phone on, so we're throwing a little bit more in there. I'm going to put my cell phone right in front of Brian.
So it's maxed out the meter.
And we've pretty much maxed, now that the cell phone's on, all the meters are maxed out. We're through the roof now. And all I did was take the cell phone out of airplane mode. So now, if I unplug this, it should theoretically get even higher, right? It should get even worse, correct? So should I turn this off?
Yeah, let's go ahead and turn it off.
I'm just going to unplug it here, or here. Okay. Okay. It should be off now. That little green light off. Still on?
Still on.
Oh wait, maybe I got to turn it off on the back of it. Let's try this. Okay, there. It's off. Anything change?
Nope.
Okay, I'm going to flip it back on now.
They're the same.
Okay, now it's back on. So I'm just getting a higher readout.
Yeah, so we're still getting the same.
Now, unfortunately, what the scary thing is between two lav mics and a cell phone, we were maxed out, even almost unable to test this thing. We got so maxed out just from having two devices running next to our bodies. And what's the acceptable level of microvolt radiation that you would normally want?
Well, I like it to see below 1,000 in the daytime areas.
And we were at 8,000, got up above 10,000 once we flipped the cell phone on.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then in the bedtime areas, I like to see, it depends on the intensity in the area. I mean, if we're like in Seattle and we're measuring like downtown within line of sight of the Queen Anne towers, anyone who lives in the Pacific Northwest has been to Seattle, you know those huge towers, there's like 3 of them on this huge hill. They're radio and television and cell phone towers that are blasting the entire city. They're red and white colored. You can't miss them. You look at the landscape or the cityscape of Seattle and you notice those. Everybody knows those as the Queen Anne towers. Those are blasting the entire city. So if you can see those, we want the level in a shielded room in that area below 500 would be good.
Wow.
But in a place like here where where things are relatively low in the country, as low as possible, but I like to see it below 100. I would consider that a successful.
Below 100. Okay.
Yeah.
But when we get next to a device that's supposed to be protecting us from EMF, we're jumping up above 8,000. But part of that is obviously these lav mics and everything that we're wearing.
Right.
But all we know is that this device didn't seem to protect us from that at all. When flipped on or off, it didn't make a difference.
Yeah, it did. It doesn't. A lot of these devices, I would say, they may, it's debatable whether it supports your body in dealing with a stressor. But when they claim that it's blocking the frequency or canceling it out. I've never seen that to be true with,
You've
the
tested
measurements.
a multitude of these devices very similar to what we just did, and
Yes.
you're not finding evidence that they actually block an actual field. You're not discounting the fact that perhaps there is, if someone sleeps better, if their inflammation drops, great. But what they're not doing in most cases from your testing is actually blocking some type of field from a cell
That's
phone
right.
or a Wi-Fi router. So if I were to have a Wi-Fi router on the other side of this and we were to test with this on versus off, you wouldn't notice that it's somehow creating this protective shield around our bodies or something like that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wouldn't be able to measure that.
to
But
know.
I will show you something
You're going to piss a lot of manufacturers off of all these
I
devices.
know. I hopefully won't get it.
And again, we're not saying they don't work to do something, but they're definitely not doing, according to what you've tested, what they say they're doing as far as blocking some of these fields.
Yeah, if they claim to block or cancel the fields out, and you have to look at the wording very carefully too, because you can say it cancels the effects of the fields out. That may be true, but we
Right.
don't really have a way to measure
not-
that and show scientifically.
Aside from doing like pre and post with a pretty good probably washout and preferably in a double-blind scenario, someone's inflammatory markers or HRV or something like that.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and there's also this case of all the Bruce Lipton stuff, the biology of belief,
Right.
and in a double-blind placebo-controlled study, that's that usually controls for the placebo effect, right? But there's also this thing I read about, and I'll have to look for the documentation on it, but it's called like the double placebo effect. Like if somebody is doing a study and they have this intention, kind of like how qigong or prayer works.
Mm-hmm.
You can be kind of hoping, praying that something's going to work and have an effect
Yeah.
on the study.
Which is why it's important that the researcher is also blinded.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the researcher, and maybe even done without the knowledge of the company,
Yeah.
doing
Wow.
it. So it's really hard, and there's a lot of things that we don't know about how powerful the human mind is, and as, when you get into the more spiritual,
Yeah.
esoteric stuff, it's a whole different realm. And what I really try to focus on is it making a difference in these
Right.
meters?
Right.
And-
I mean, I certainly believe that probably if I were to go eat a McDonald's hamburger now, it would probably do more harm to my body than when I would eat a McDonald's hamburger when I was 12 and have no clue about any of the, the vegetable oils or the toxicity or the inflammation or anything like that.
Right.
Now just knowing what it does to me, I think sets myself up to be even more biologically damaged
Totally.
by something you think and know is unhealthy for you.
Yeah.
And it's super interesting.
So
the
that-
mind over matter effect.
Yeah, that actually brings up a huge point that I make whenever I do an EMF assessment, because a lot of people, after we're done here, and maybe after you guys are done listening to this podcast or watching this, you're going to feel so overwhelmed. Oh my gosh,
Right.
we're
It's like
we're
all
done
of a
for.
sudden I can't sleep.
Yeah, I'm worried
Yeah.
about this, and I always make a point that we will provide a protocol for you to do what you can, and the goal is to recreate an ancestral healing environment in your bedroom, in your home, the places where you spend the most time, help people prioritize what's most important, and then get on with your life and put in there's some nutritional strategies, some food strategies that you can do to help mitigate the damage that's done during the day when you are exposed or when you're inevitably exposed at different times, during the season when you have to go to a business trip or whatever. But
Yeah.
you put those in place and then stop stressing out about it.
Yep.
You have to have a lifestyle
Yeah.
that matches.
When I interviewed Dr. Mercola, we talked a lot about that, about everything from carbohydrate mitigation and ketone bodies having a protective effect on some of the inflammatory pathways. We talked about high magnesium intake and mineral intake having a positive effect on some of the deleterious effects of this calcium channel influx. We talked about getting a diet rich in sirtuins and also potentially even supplementing with something like NAD as being protective
Right.
against some of the ionizing and non-ionizing radiation damage. And so there are certainly things that you can do from a nutritional or a supplementation standpoint as well, which is kind of a whole different topic. But yeah, I mean you can it's not as though you're disempowered.
Right.
There are things that you can do, and we talked about a lot of them in our previous podcast, like turning off the Wi-Fi router and hardwiring instead, or using that phone trick that we just talked about, plugging your phone in instead of having it out of airplane mode. But there's plenty that you can do. But back to the testing. All right, so what's the next thing that we do here?
Well, we'll if we're done with the magnetic fields in the area, I think the fridge has been open for a while. We can see if there's a magnetic field coming off of that too. But yeah, just we kind of scan for magnetic field issues, flipping on and off lights. Dimmer switches are often a problem that we look for with the magnetic fields if there's a wiring error, especially.
Okay.
But we already tested this house for magnetic fields and nothing really came up. So we should just probably move on to the next thing, and we'll do the wireless.
The only newer areas we'd want to test would be like the guest house, for example, or new construction that's occurred since you were last here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if we find something, we'll show that.
All right.
But yeah. So actually, if we can get your boys down here, we can.
Hey boys, come on down.
They can have some of these.
Why don't you guys stick around down here on the main floor and just shadow us, okay? Rather than hanging out up there. Don't worry. People don't mind you guys being in the camera. You got a lot prettier faces than Dad does, so.
Okay. So we do have a lot of interference from the lav mics. So I'm just going to start off on this because I can show people.
Would it be helpful if I put my lav mic in a Faraday cage? Because I have one downstairs.
Well,
I feel like I should anyways, now that you got me freaked out. So I'm not even going to wait for your reply. I'm going to run down and grab that.
Here.
Well, keep rocking and rolling.
All right, so I'm going to turn on, this is a real-time radio frequency spectrum analyzer. It's a German-made device. And what I'm going to do is we're going to test just the whole range of frequencies from 0 to 12 gigahertz. So I'm actually going to start off at 20 megahertz frequency, and then I'm going to end at 12 gigahertz. And then I'm going to be looking at the peaks here. So we got peaks in 7.8, 7.2 gigahertz, 2.9, 3.5. So these are all frequencies that are coming in from outside the house. And let's see if we can find what the frequency is from my microphone back here. My antenna. So I'm taking the antenna and putting it around the back here. Looks like 3.5. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move this to a different setting. And I'm going to go to 3.5 gigahertz. Nothing there. 2.45 gigahertz. That's not it. 900 megahertz. Let's see.
My Faraday bag is much shinier than Brian's.
There we go. So
Getting
we might have a problem if you close it all the way up with the mic getting a signal.
We'll find out. I mean, I can't close it all the way because the wire's got to come out, but.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. I'm Faraday bagged up. We still getting audio? Sweet. Camera guy says thumbs up. Camera guy, by the way, today is Wilbur Sensing, at Wilbur Sensing on Instagram. I'll link to his stuff in the show notes if you guys want to check out some of his videographer work. He's the crack video team we hired out of Spokane here.
Okay.
All right, so what are we looking at now?
Looks like we got the 900 megahertz frequency. I think that's what we're operating on with the lav mics.
Okay.
So we're doing okay with that now. Let's see.
So are you essentially doing that so you can identify as you're testing whether it's the lav mic that's creating an issue versus something else?
Yeah, so we're going to actually check okay, so we got a lot of radio stations here. So I'm going to do that. I remember that from the last podcast. We detected a radio station, and we'll see. I'll bring out that meter that I used last time. Actually, I got one that has a better speaker on it, so
we're actually getting a signal from a radio station passing into our house.
Yes.
Now, how much of an issue is that? Like, biologically, have you seen evidence that that's going to cause much damage?
Yeah, actually, the radio frequencies from the FM radio stations, they resonate even more with the human body than a lot of the higher frequencies do.
Oh, wow.
So
out here, even in the middle of the forest, we're getting some radio towers emitting their radio frequencies into our house.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're able to determine whether the quantity of that wave is going to be an issue.
You can hear it.
It's kind of scary. So when we're sitting here eating dinner at night, that's going through our heads, that noise?
Yeah, that's why people get songs stuck in their heads and
You're kidding
voices
me.
in their. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, I think you're full of it. Careful. You don't want to lose your credibility with folks. You're the boy who cried wolf here.
All right. So this will kind of show you. This is
By the way, have you read the book, Brian, which I just finished, called The Invisible Rainbow?
Yeah, I've got a copy in my.
If you guys are
truck,
listening
actually.
in, I think that book, it's kind of like when you're holding a hammer, the world looks like a nail. It pretty much blames every single disease known to man on radio waves and electricity. And I don't know if I think like the 1918 flu pandemic was because there was some kind of radio rollout around that same time. And neither do I think that 5G caused coronavirus. So the book has a lot of like correlative data in it that I don't necessarily agree with, but reading it is thought-provoking when it comes to the actual correlation between electrohypersensitivity and a lot of these waves where we essentially live in a soup of electricity that human beings up until 100 years ago never lived in. And that book is pretty scary when it shows kind of the patterning between all these different diseases and the frequency of exposure to a lot of these things. Even the seemingly harmless old school AM/FM radio, which we think is nothing compared to it's like a cell phone that's on in our pockets. There's actually some stuff going on there.
Right. We think that because it's been around a long time, it must not have an effect.
Right.
But then we look back at history, and correlation is not causation. But how healthy are we? Since we started, we can blame it on the foods of convenience, as Weston A. Price would call them, but and the processing of the food and the chemicals and things like that. But at the same time, we were also having this huge influx of this
I
wireless
think
radiation.
It's a cluster of factors, right? It's stress, it's lack of presence and awareness, it's sympathetic nervous system response to that, it's metal overload, it's electrical exposure, it's ultra-processed foods. But I think that radio waves and electromagnetic waves are certainly part of that factor.
Definitely, yeah. It's a perfect storm that we've created for chronic illness. So just to show you the effect of the radio frequency, FM radio versus like something that's a higher frequency, I'll just kind of show you this so we can kind of zoom in with the camera here. When I touch this, see how that spikes up? That means the signal is stronger. So I'm going to reset this here. So right now we're just detecting what this little antenna is detecting. And when I touch my body to that, it spikes up the level like at least tenfold, maybe more. So that's why when you grab a TV antenna or a radio antenna back in the day when we used to have the little bunny rabbit ears, you can your body actually acts as the antenna.
I told River and Taryn when I was a little boy, I had a TV hidden in my closet that my parents didn't know about, that I would sneak out at night to watch all the TV shows like X-Files and Married with Children. Just all these shows I'd watch that my parents didn't want me to watch at night. But a lot of times I found that if I held the TV antenna, I could get a lot better reception. And I even had like little coat wire hang-ups where I could just go lounge in my bed and be holding the coat wire, and the coat wire would be attached to the TV antenna. And it actually worked. I used my body as an antenna. And probably even more scary, I've noted that if I have a poor connection on my phone and I take it out of its protective case and then use my body as almost like to amplify the signal, and we tested this the last time you were at the house, your phone uses your body as an antenna. And we tested my own voltage on my human body with the phone on versus off, and it went through the roof.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is yet another reason that maybe having a good selfie stick could be a good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Or at least being careful how much you actually handle your phone while it's on, using your body as an antenna.
Yeah. So it's really important to understand how because your body's conductive, that you are actually collecting these frequencies, these microvoltages, from all these different plethora of frequencies that are bombarding our homes and workplaces and everywhere that we go. And it's your body's actually not only being influxed with those frequencies, but your skin is actually resonating a frequency as well, and it's creating a secondary frequency that goes into the body. And so, in really high radio frequency areas, you can measure this phenomena that's happening, and it's happening on a smaller level when you have a lower amount of radiation. But I could be as far as like we've done a lot of shielded rooms, shielded spaces, and in the places where you have the most saturation of these frequencies, the first shield that blocks them does a really good job and lowers things dramatically. But if you go really close to the primary shielding material, you can detect a secondary frequency emitting about 6 inches off from the shielding material. And when you're exposed with your body, you can go into a Faraday cage and like a radio, and the radio would normally be off, not getting reception, but you go within a foot of the radio antenna, and it starts to get the radio station that's coming in. So your body's actually radiating that signal and rebroadcasting that to the antenna receiver.
Wait, are you saying then that, for example, EMF blocking underwear is very popular these days? Are you saying that that could potentially be acting as almost like a miniature antenna around your precious balls than actually protecting you?
Well, the question is, how do you create a bigger antenna? You add more metal. You add more.
And these things are lined with silver and metals.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's some problematic issues with that, and that I've tested. And so the design of these materials and these types of clothing is very, very important.
And you would prefer to choose blocking fabric if you're going to use blocking fabrics that had as little metal in them as possible.
Well, it's difficult because the thing that blocks them is the metal. So
what do you do?
So the people that find the most benefit.
What does a clothing manufacturer do?
Yeah, the people that find the most benefit from the clothing are people that aren't in hugely saturated areas.
Okay, so essentially, if you're living in New York City or LA or walking through an airport or some other area laden with EMF soup, not having these type of Faraday cage type of clothing devices on your body would be more beneficial, you think?
Possibly, and the thing is,
that's going to throw a lot of people for a loop because
Yeah.
tons of people are wearing those things now.
Yeah. Well, it depends. It depends, like what the frequency is, because there's, depending on the size of the clothing, it's going to resonate at a different frequency as it's being bombarded with those. And so there's this resonance phenomena that happens, and there's this guy that talks about it in his book. His name's Hubert Traska. We'll have a link to that in the show notes as well, and a little photo of the page I'm talking about.
Okay.
But everything rebroadcasts a signal when it's introduced to a wireless frequency, depending on the size of the conductor.
Okay.
That's why when you tune in your radio station, it's actually changing the size of the antenna to tune in to a different station, a different frequency.
Okay. Now, if people's heads are spinning right now and they're still kind of confused, well, should I not wear my EMF blocking hoodie or my, what's the popular brand like Lamb's underwear or any of these newer types of clothing or shielding devices when I'm traveling or when I'm in an area of high EMF? What's kind of the overall message that you would give to people if you were going to boil it down into very simplistic terms?
Well, I would say number one, if you have the clothing, you need to get an EMF meter right away so you can measure and know what environment, especially if you're wearing it in a certain area all the time. You need to know what's going on in that environment and what frequencies they're broadcasting.
And what
at.
are you looking for? So
I want anything that's above 4 gigahertz, the clothing is going to be pretty good.
Okay.
But below 4 gigahertz, like your Wi-Fi and lower, really Wi-Fi router's not that bad. It's not because of the way it's pulsed. It's mainly these transmitting antennas that are modulated like in the FM radio.
Would that include 5G?
Some of the 5G frequencies, yeah.
Okay.
So 3.65 gigahertz is a 5G frequency they're using in Houston, and they have some of those towers actually around this area as well to provide high-speed wireless internet
Have you ever written an article about this with the EMF blocking fabrics or clothing, or what people should look for if people want to take a deeper dive, or is it that book that you just referenced?
There's a book I've referenced. I actually have a draft on my website of an article that
maybe
I'm
when
ready to do.
you should publish that. I think a lot of people are going to be interested. It sounds like it's a pretty deep discussion, but when you publish that, do you think it'd be out soon if I included that in the show notes?
Yeah, we've been on the road for a couple months, and I've been waiting to get back to go through my to-do list.
If and when it is published, or when it is published, I should say, we'll manifest that. I will put a link in the show notes for you guys at bengreenfieldfitness.com/shielded healing podcast, because I'm interested in reading a more thorough treatise of that as well.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. And I've found that primarily by testing these frequencies with this meter and the other body attachments that we have to the radio frequency devices. So,
and then one final rabbit hole regarding when you're touching a device and it's using you as an antenna. The only other situation I can think of that people are engaging quite frequently, like River and Taryn, for example, and me, are when we're typing on our computers. You know, we're touching the keyboard, we're touching the trackpad. What's your approach as far as that's concerned?
So if you have an external keyboard, that's better. You need to make sure that your computer is grounded. So
if you have a MacBook and it's got like the third prong and you're plugged into the wall and the outlet is properly grounded, then technically your computer is grounded.
Right, yeah. You have to have the third prong attachment. If you just have the two, the hot and the neutral wire that's plugged in, it doesn't ground.
All of our MacBooks have the third prong in the charge. Right, guys? Your guys have when you plug your computer in, there's a third prong that looks like, well, all we're talking about is this, right? Yeah. Third prong on the bottom. So so your guys's don't, and mine does. So we should consider then, note to self, getting don't they sell special kinds of plugs that you can plug your laptop in to ground it while you're working?
Yeah, well, you can just get the one that Apple sells, and it'll ground the computer.
Got it. So you just use a charging device. Let me see yours here. Okay, so something like this would not be properly grounded, but if we were to substitute this for the cable that actually has the third prong, then it would be grounded.
So this is a good thing to show on the video, because these are the hot and the neutral here. Mm-hmm. This is the ground prong right here.
Okay.
Actually.
Oh, so that is grounded.
That's what it will be grounded to. Right here, this doesn't have any contact. So this has no metal in it.
So what we would want to do in a case like that is you would want to have something like this that your laptop is plugged into, so that then when you use a device like this versus the two-prong device, and you plug this in and you're working on your computer, you're then grounded, and that would be more protective than if you're using a standard charging cable.
Yeah. And you can see in there, that's the ground. There's a little metal in there versus this one that doesn't have it. So this metal is connected to this prong right here, and that's grounding this, and that it actually grounds the USB cable that's coming out to the computer, and then that grounds the computer.
Gotcha.
And so there's a little bit of...
That's an easy switch then, because these are relatively inexpensive versus buying an entirely new charging block. You just buy a cable that allows you to plug in and be grounded.
Yeah.
That's easy. That's an easy fix.
Yep, and you can get those on Amazon or the Apple Store.
Matter of fact, hey Nessa, are you up there? No, she's not. I was going to shout up to Nessa to just order a couple. But I will write a note to myself, fellas, and you like the same thing with like, for example, a mouse, like or using a mouse instead of a trackpad.
Yeah, wired mouse.
Although that'd be a moot point. If your computer is grounded, then both the mouse and the keyboard are going to be less problematic.
Yeah, for people that are really sensitive, sometimes they can't stand touching their computer because there is a magnetic field that comes out from the computer itself. Mm-hmm. So we can actually measure that right here.
So what's that measuring right there as I'm typing on my computer?
Yeah, this is measuring magnetic fields. So it's kind of a habit change I try to teach people to do. Like right now, you're not using this hand, so this hand could be off of the computer, and you could just have one finger on there. Otherwise, your hand's just sitting here getting that radiation.
Wow. So that's all the radiation my computer is producing right there.
That's a lot right
And as soon as I'm touching my computer. Now, what if my computer isn't grounded? Are we going to see even more of that?
Shouldn't make a difference
just
with the
unplugged it.
magnetic.
Okay.
But yeah, with the electric field, it would.
Wow.
So that's no matter what, that's going.
So no matter what, when you're using a computer, you're getting some amount of
Yeah.
radiation.
So that's why we recommend an external keyboard. Then it won't have the magnetic field issue.
One that you connect.
Yeah, you just plug it in.
How would you connect a mouse?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Yep, you got it.
Which is like my computer downstairs, my main working computer has the external keyboard on it, which is probably better. Very good to know. Well, either way, I found an Apple power adapter extension cable, and I'll just get a couple of those for you boys right now, and that way you'll at least be grounded when you're using your computers. Hooray. We learned something. All right, cool.
Not something, many things.
All right.
All right, so what's next?
Well, let's go up to the bedrooms.
Okay.
And we can test the electric
So the
fields.
place where you sleep, that's going to be super important.
Yeah.
I
and-
have Dad, I have those Tesla stones under my bed. Will that affect the thing?
We can test those stones, yeah. Yeah, we've got some special stones up by his bed someone sent us that supposedly very similar to these devices, or a Himalayan salt lamp, for example, are supposedly providing some type of protective effect.
Right. We'll test all that stuff. Okay, gotta kind of load up all my gear here as we go. Grab this. We'll test a bunch of things up in the bedrooms too. We'll get the RF readings and magnetic field readings.
Perfect. Okay. And occasionally as we're going through here, I will have to flip on my phone and check little messages.
Okay. All right, guys, you ready? Yeah. All right.
I was wondering, we've had one of these. Do these cause anything?
Oh, that is going to be really cool to test. Because we'll test the light on that too, which sometimes those make a kind of freaky, ghostly type sounds on my light meter.
I want to see that.
All right. So let's put this on your pillow and tell me what number you get.
0.31.
Okay, so that's good. Hey, last time I was here, you guys had bunk beds. You
Yeah,
switched
no,
it
we
around.
switched it. Now we also have a mural.
Cool. All right.
Yes.
And you got your lizard. Do you have a bearded dragon or what's in there?
Dad,
Oh, yep.
Dad, you
Cool.
We can see how much EMF the bearded dragon produces.
That much. Maybe the lamps producing.
Never know. Might be a mutant radiated dragon.
They're both 0.31 or
Now, as you're going through and testing this, do you are you also testing the lighting? Are you doing flicker analysis, or is that something you do at a different time?
Yeah, so I'll usually I'll do the flicker and the magnetic fields at the same time. Usually when I do recordings like this, I kind of to make it less confusing, I try not to jump around too much.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll do a little spot.
Well, you know best how your approach is going to come across on the podcast or the audio or the video. So yeah, let's do the stuff that the audience is going to benefit the most from and be the least confused by as we go.
Actually, because we just talked about that light, the boys were wanting me to test their little orb light over here.
Which
So we will.
all sorts of little devices we can test here.
So yeah. So first we'll test over by the window, and I'll just show you guys because we're going to test flicker now.
And
And,
I believe in this room, in the boys' room, we at one time had a dirty electricity filter plugged into one of the outlets.
These lights, we changed them though because they ran out.
Okay. Okay, so there's no longer a dirty electricity filter in this room.
Not.
Well, there was at one time.
Yeah, there's only kind of had bunk beds here.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the electric stuff right
Okay. So this meter, it does measure wireless frequencies, but it also has a setting for measuring flicker. It has this little solar receiving device. It looks like a little mini solar panel on the back of the meter here. And so you just point this towards the light source to test whether it's flickering or not. And so what do you guys think? Is sunlight good or bad for you?
It's good. Sometimes. Both good and bad.
Both
Good to a certain extent.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's good, right? It's natural. It's something that we've always had. That we've always had for all of human history, and we need it. And I don't know, Ben, have you interviewed Dr. Wunsch before, right?
Alexander Wunsch, I have not. Well, you know what? A long time ago, I think I did have a podcast with him on lighting.
Okay.
Interestingly, in 3 days, Matt Maruka, who I have interviewed quite a bit about lighting, he'll be here at the house. He's dropping in to record a podcast.
Cool.
But I've interviewed him about lighting. Alexander Wunsch some time ago, another guy named Daniel Jorge, who developed that Iris software about more lighting on backlit lighting from monitors, from screens, etc. So yeah, I have a few different lighting podcasts out there.
Cool. So one of the things that Dr. Wunsch talks about, I think he talked about in an interview with Dr. Mercola, is that 2/3 of your ATP production comes from light, from the near-infrared wavelengths that you get from sunlight. Now, what I want you guys to think about is, if you're, let's see, what is going on here? I'm getting a little flux here. Let me see if there's, okay, so this is measuring the flickering of light. So sunlight, this is what it sounds like. It sounds like just a hiss. There's not much of anything, right? So, yeah, let's go ahead and turn that on. So we've got an incandescent source. Now this bulb is running on 60 hertz electricity. So that's 120 back and forth pulses per second where it's giving the light electricity. It's heating up the filament, and so it doesn't cool down, it cools down in between those pulses, and that's the flickering that we're hearing.
And so this red incandescent light that the boys are using at night while they read, are you saying that is producing this imperceptible flicker that could actually be deleterious to retinal function or mitochondria?
It can be kind of stimulating. So what I always like to go back to is what did we have in nature? And the only flickering light that you have in nature is, if you can imagine being in a jungle with the sunlight coming through the leaves, and you're running. So if you're running
from a jaguar,
if you're running from a jaguar, this is the kind of flicker that you have, like this. And that's not, I can't do it as fast as what this light is going like.
Right. And so is there a way to reduce the amount of flicker from a red incandescent light, for example?
If you switch to a DC source, you can.
And how would you switch to a DC source?
It'd be really hard to do that. You'd have to have a battery hooked up and know how to wire it right.
And so if you were a little boy laying in bed, reading a book at night, and you still wanted to be able to see your book, what do you think would be the very, very best solution for something like that?
Well, actually, if I could have one of you boys run downstairs on the table, there's some light bulbs. There's about 3 light bulbs. If you could grab those.
Here are the rocks, by the way.
So we do have a solution for that. So I love incandescent bulbs. They have a full spectrum of those healing wavelengths that we were just talking about, the near-infrared wavelengths from 600 to 1200 nanometers. But we also are concerned about the flicker. So the spectrum is good on this bulb, but the flicker is something that's a little bit problematic. So at night in nature, we don't have any blue light, right? We know that. So we're going to take this incandescent red bulb out, and we're going to put in this one. This is a red bulb that's a LED bulb, but it's a special type of LED bulb that does not flicker. And it doesn't have a full spectrum.
So this is a special LED bulb that doesn't produce flicker, and we're actually getting less flicker from this than a red incandescent bulb.
Right.
So you like these better than red incandescent?
I like them for nighttime.
For nighttime. And what kind of bulb is this?
This there's two different brands that me and my team have tested. This one's a Duracell brand that you can get from like Battery and Bulbs. It's a red light. And there's another brand called Sunlight non-dimmable bulbs that you can get on Amazon, and we recommend yellow, orange, and red bulbs, depending on what you're going for and what people can tolerate. Some people don't like just the red; they feel like they can't see enough. I think it's enough for reading, and it's the best because it blocks out the green and the blue.
And do you include something like that in your report?
Yes.
The change up for the bulbs in the bedroom, for example.
Yep.
So we'll be able to just go through afterwards, look at your report, and say, okay, we need to switch these bulbs out. These incandescents that we thought were superior, which they might be for circadian rhythm, are also producing this imperceptible flicker that something like this LED lighting is not.
Yeah.
And that just looking at it, doesn't it look, guys, a little bit softer, the light itself? Cool. Well, we'll be doing some lighting switches, it looks like. Yeah.
Perfect.
And so just a caveat on that, the incandescent bulb is providing a full spectrum of wavelengths. This LED bulb is maybe 10 to 20 nanometers wide, so it's not providing healing wavelengths, but at night we don't really need those if we've gotten that during the day by being outside, or you have some other kind of light therapy that you're doing.
Right, so as long as you've been out in the sunlight, you're not going to get your full spectrum of light from something like a non-red incandescent bulb, but you're also not going to produce that type of imperceptible flicker that is a concern unless it's running off a DC current.
Right, yeah. And so
Easy.
you can actually tolerate more flicker during the day because you are out, our ancestors were out hunting during the day.
Yeah.
And they are getting that flicker from the sunlight as they're running after an animal or from an animal, right? So that's one type of bulb. There's this bulb here is another constant, and these bulbs are called constant current bulbs. So they have constant current technology. It converts the alternating current to a DC current in the bulb itself. So this one is a bulb that is a white bulb, but it's got about 2700 Kelvin. And let's see, where's the...
Whoa, bright.
So this one's this is more like task lighting. So this is something your dad might use downstairs when he's working.
And this is also LED.
This is also an LED. So what I like
But that also is not producing the same amount of flicker. So when we go down to my office, we should test and see. Although now it's... What was that? Weird.
Oh, is it that? It might be the gun. It might be the lens in the...
Sometimes infrared light does that. Interesting what's going on here. And one thing I have noticed when I'm testing different bulbs is the fixture is very important to test, because sometimes the fixture will make it so that it is flickering. And this one in particular, this is a bulb that I used at home. It's an LED bulb that I tested, and at first it had a really high flicker rate, but then after it warmed up a little bit, it went way back down. And since I've tested it at home in that fixture, I haven't been able to test it anywhere else where the flicker died down. So I don't know if this is...
Well, whenever I put bulbs in this lamp, they do get like pretty hot. So.
Yeah, this lamp, let's see, what does it say? It
says my lamp. Yeah, it does say my lamp.
Max 9 watt LED bulb.
Taking furious notes here, even though I know you provide a pretty good report. There's little things I'm jotting down there.
So this one flickers a
Super
lot
interesting.
initially. And then at my house, after about 2 minutes, it stops flickering. It kind of dies down. So I don't know if that's going to happen here or not, but I'm just going to leave this here while we test some other stuff, and we'll see if that changes at all.
Okay.
All right. Can probably turn it down a little bit.
And these, by the way, some company, like I said, we're always getting these kind of like protective devices. This one is called a Tesla Rock Bag. Stay protected against EMF. Contains crystals with powerful healing benefits. is a Faraday cage. It says place bag on floor to create a Faraday cage in your home, office, or on the go. The more bags, the greater the protection. Place one under the bed for improved dreams and deeper sleep.
That's what I do.
What say you, Brian?
Well,
A Faraday cage full of another bag in it that has rocks in it.
I'd say this
An
bag.
inner bag of what are called pink Tesla crystals.
I've never heard of that, but this bag itself is a Faraday cage, so I don't know how you don't really create a Faraday cage unless you're completely surrounded with a conductive material.
No, this very clearly says it creates a Faraday cage around your entire home or around one person.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Oh. You mean just because it's written doesn't mean it's true?
I guess.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I can't believe it. I thought everything we see on the TV and the
I thought
media
everything
and
was if
written
it was
down.
written, it must be true, because otherwise, how did it get published?
The authorities would never let that happen.
No. Interesting. Okay, and really, the only way to test this would be similar to what we did downstairs, where you flip on a phone, you put this device between you and the phone, and you see if the amount of radiation that you're testing for your body's radiation is just as high with this in front of you, between you and the phone, as if it were removed, for example.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not going to do
Should we
anything.
try it?
We can try it.
Okay, let's try it. So I'm going to set my phone down in front of this bag. Phone, taking it out of airplane mode. Okay, and I'm going to stand here. And I've got this lav mic in a Faraday bag, so we'll find out.
Yeah, I need to it's maxing out. I don't want to blow up the meter. I've blown up meters testing things like that before. So this one's my most sensitive one, so I actually have to go down and grab another one.
We're going to test it, Taryn. We're going to find out.
But what we can do in the meantime...
Have you gotten more lucid dreaming with that thing under your bed? You know what's crazy is they sent me one too, and I did put it behind my pillow, and I did dream more, but I don't know if it was just the placebo effect of me subconsciously knowing that thing was under my pillow.
Right. It's hard to tell sometimes.
I kept dreaming I was eating rocks, and then I woke up and the bag was empty.
Okay, guys, we're going to do a little bit of a distraction here. We're going to move to do electric fields, and I'm going to have you guys just test things around the room, and then when I come back, tell me what you found, okay? So I need both of you. I've got two things that test electric fields, this and this. So in order to test it, you have to actually be touching the grounding device, okay? So I'll give that to you, and you can have that one. And then, and then
You
if
have that grounding device plugged into the wall? Okay, so it is grounded.
yeah, that's
Okay,
grounded,
cool.
plugged into the wall there.
So River, when you're holding that thing, you are grounded.
So what you can test your brother, you can test where the cord is for the lamp,
Just
test
test
everything.
things that are plugged in your room. You can test.
You can use
You
this
can
to
test
test too.
Godzilla's bulbs.
Just hold this down, and you can test that too. Okay.
Okay, let's go.
You can test using that meter. I'm going to go down and get some more equipment. I'll be right back.
This is not like the lights in there. Or am I just holding it too hard? Do I just like touch it? Yeah, whenever I squeeze it. Yeah, what about...
Getting anything? Seen a spike anywhere?
That one's got kind of... Yeah, this light does. How does this turn on? I don't know. This over here is pretty good. How does this one turn on?
Well, you just have to press the button and test things. So it has to have the sensitivity all the way up. See that button right there?
Oh, this button.
Yep. That's it.
Music trap. Extensive research says that these lights are bad.
All right. One more thing.
Let me get that on video.
Extensive research.
Brothers, your extensive meter testing showing any issues here? So you're grounded. You're holding that so you're grounded. Good, good, good. Uh-oh. Godzilla. So what's that tell you guys? If you were working at your desk over there all day, and these lights were on behind you, you're basically getting a bunch of electromagnetic radiation that is emitting over on your body while you're over there working on your laptop. So we should figure out what we could do to Godzilla's bulbs to fix that. And I'm sure somebody here might know what to do about that.
We'll figure it out.
Even like the computers.
Yeah.
Hey, babe, we already found some pretty cool things about lighting.
So like 500.
Yeah, like these red incandescent bulbs, they're actually producing like a lot of kind of flicker. And there's a better bulb system we can use for some of these bulbs. Yeah, like for when the kids are reading at night and stuff.
Computers are fun.
It's a bulb. Yeah.
Okay.
And the boombox a little bit.
Yep, so all the stuff that's plugged in, right? Is that what you're kind of finding?
Yeah.
All right, so anything that's plugged in, it's bringing that electricity closer to your body. And what we really, the ultimate test that we want to do is test your own body for this voltage. So you guys are spending a lot of time sleeping in this room. This is your bedroom, so you sleep here for like what, 8 to 9, 10 hours a night?
9 to 7 usually.
Okay.
9 p.m. to 7 a.m. Yeah, that's about how long you guys sleep, 9 p.m. to 7 a.m.
All right, so
Not getting up at 4 a.m. to do Murph yet.
Dude, I had one client in Texas. You know Ancestral Supplements Company?
Oh, yeah, Brian.
Yeah, Brian Johnson. His boys, they get up in the morning, they do lunges. Like I was there in the morning, and they were all doing lunges around the room, and they have a whole workout protocol.
Brian's got an interesting protocol. He and his wife also do like a 5-day strict fast every month that they begin with this super hardcore workout. And I think they end it with a super hardcore workout just to simulate what our hunter-gatherers would have experienced. And like there are certain things where it just doesn't sound like a pleasant way to live. I get it, but I'd just rather go hunting.
Yeah, they're
pretty extreme.
They've
The same guy does the barbarian workout where he'll take. This is the guy who sends me the liver supplements that I take from Ancestral Supplements. He has the barbarian workout where you hold 2 kettlebells and drag a sled for a mile, loaded down with. I think the sled has 135 pounds on it. You're holding 2 70-pound kettlebells, 20-pound ankle weights, and a 70-pound backpack, and you just go a mile. And apparently everybody who works for that company has to do that test just to even be able to work for that company.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just recently got done shielding a lot of their house. They just had moved last year.
River and Taryn have workouts every single day, but not at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
No,
Unless you really want to.
I didn't. So.
Oh, you found something.
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, real quick, let's test that light because that's one of the things we wanted to test. So the different lights in the room. So we got these lights.
It goes way up when you touch it.
Okay, let's listen to it. Yeah, you can hear.
That sounds like popcorn being popped.
It's almost like a miniature biocharger, that thing. I should show you the biocharger downstairs when I get there.
Oh yeah, we should try it on the.
Well, we know the biocharger produces a ton of
Listen to that.
magnetic fields and electrical fields, but they're supposed to be healing frequencies. Wow. Now, what would change if you were to, for example, plug that into a dirty electricity filter? Or, as you can see, it's not grounded. If you were to plug it into a grounding outlet, you think it'd be better?
Better on the flicker.
Better on the flicker or the amount of electrical field it'd produce.
The electric field, yeah, if it was, actually that looks like it's USB powered. So what's interesting.
Which is better?
Yeah, that's,
It's not battery powered.
So if something is powered by USB, it's less problematic.
it can be.
What
We
is
just
this
need to find something metal. Here,
What's this button do?
here, you take that. I'm gonna ground your body here.
By the way, important question for our videographer. If I take a pee, is it going to pick that up? If I walk away down to the bathroom and take a pee, are we going to pick that up on the video? Do I have a mute button on here?
Yes, you do.
Okay, good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, keep testing. Proceed. Dad's going to hit the mute on myself so I can go and
Actually, it goes
take a quick leak here.
So
Boom.
watch, if I touch this. Okay, you just need to touch that and with your hand and then test it. So the screw is not working on that. Let me just see about this. If I ground this, test this cord there.
What do you mean?
Wait.
Do I just like hold it next to it?
Yeah, test the,
It's only
but
like,
you need to ground your body too.
oh, and you don't, so I need to touch it too?
Yep. So then test this cord right here.
I'm touching it?
With, yeah, test it with that, but touch
Touch
this part. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So we got this field over here that we're getting from
Or
that.
it's
So
like this.
yeah, here, let me see.
Everything. I'm sorry, I got the wrong, you had no idea.
That versus, see? So what we can do with this, because it's USB powered, I'm gonna turn that off for a minute. Because it's USB powered, you can plug that into an external power bank. And that's a battery like you can use for your phone. You can use that to charge your phone. And then anything that has a USB, it's using DC current.
Well, this charges the phone.
Yeah, that would normally charge the phone, but see, it doesn't have a grounding part. So even though this is transforming the energy from the pulsating current to a smooth, straight current where it doesn't flicker, it's not pulsing, and it's running off of a battery. So the Earth is like a battery. It has DC, direct current, coming in one direction. Lightning strikes are just an arc from the atmosphere going down to the lower ground potential. So going and then like flashing lightning, and it's like static electricity. Like if you go down a plastic slide at a playground,
It shocks you. It hurts.
and then you touch your brother, you can shock him. But if he touches the ground first, you can't shock him, right?
Yeah.
So you have to stay on the plastic slide, and then the electricity goes to the lower ground potential.
So basically, if everybody was going to go, if everybody went down this giant slide and didn't touch the ground, and then they all touched the ground, like lightning bolts.
Have you ever done that with multiple people going down a slide? If you have a bunch of people go down like a big plastic slide and don't touch the ground, and then you kind of get that static electricity where your hair goes up. One time I did that to my dad with my kids, and we were going with my girls, we were going down this huge slide, and at the bottom I touched his nose, and we could see a lightning bolt go like about 3 inches from my finger to his nose, and he was like, "Oh, it hurt really, really bad." So like,
I've done that before. You're on the bleachers and you're like
so
shuffling
we
your feet.
went to this basketball camp, and for some reason, if you went to the top of the bleachers
And you
you
shuffle your
shuffled
feet
your
a
feet
lot.
all the way across, and then you touch them, you could see the electricity.
yeah,
If you touch the metal railing on top of it, you could like see the electricity like shock you really hard.
yep, that's what happens, and that's kind of what happens with the sky. The sky builds up all this it's kind of like static electricity, and then when it builds up enough, it's like the metal or the earth is kind of conductive, so it will come down and it'll transfer the energy back down. There's a really cool YouTube video of these guys doing a slow motion lightning bolt recording that I watched a few days ago.
Oh wow.
It was really cool.
Slow mode.
You could see the lightning would go to the side, and then all of a sudden, boom! It would like have one big strike onto the ground.
How would you
Wow.
like slow? It goes so fast. How would you like? How slow would it have to be going?
Well, you guys should try to slow-mo film the biocharger downstairs sometime, which will do like 1,000 lightning bolt strikes in a second. See if you can capture any of those on the camera.
That'd be fun. So yeah, with this thing, anything that has a USB, I was telling them you can plug that into like one of those power bank chargers, and then it just is running on DC.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's from what I understand. Like if you were, say, going to sleep all night with your phone charged, yet in airplane mode next to your bed, or off, plugging it into an external battery than, say, just into an outlet in the wall.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you plug that in, and then you keep it on airplane mode, and then you can still. A lot of people use their phones as alarms, or in a shielded room. Like I do a lot of assessments for doctors and nurses that need to be on call. They can put that in the windowsill behind the shielded curtain, and then they can still receive phone call and be protected. From
Yeah, that's a good
wireless
idea.
Signals.
It's a good idea.
You need like a shielded phone room where you call
Yeah, you just need like a good external battery for your phone that'll last most of the night, and keep it charged up, and then have your phone plugged into that instead of into the wall outlet.
Yep.
That'll be a new one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A simple change, but it's just that much less dirty EMF in the room.
And then for lamps, there's a little remote switch that we use. It's got one Wi-Fi signal. Just when you press the button, it'll turn off the power to the entire cord. And then you don't have that electric field right next to you. And you don't have to keep unplugging lamps every single night.
Oh, that's a good idea. Will you include that in your recommendations?
Yep.
Amazing.
Wait,
Yeah.
Wow.
what do you mean, like you?
And you could do that for Godzilla too.
Everything Brian recommends to us, because Dad actually, I reached out to Brian after reading Dr. Mercola's new book, EMF'd, and I told him, look, I've decided that we will make an investment to go even more all out than we have in the past with EMF. So we're pretty much doing everything that Brian recommends on his report. We're going to do soup to nuts in our house and just change everything, every little thing that needs adjustment. We're gonna do it all. Dad's been saving a little bit of money on the side to make sure that we can just take care of our whole house.
You've used the phrase soups and nuts the second time.
I like the phrase soup to nuts. We could think of something different. We'll say soup to seeds.
Ducks.
Yeah. Some people might have oxalate sensitivities and not want so many of the nuts.
Yeah.
So what are we testing now here?
So this is the body voltage. That's the same thing that we were measuring all around the room with the electricity.
So is this where we're going to test the
wires.
bag now?
Yeah, we can test. Let's see. The bag says stay protected against EMF. And here's the issue with a lot of these devices. If they claim that they protect you from all kinds of EMF, wireless, electric fields, magnetic fields, geopathic stressors, that doesn't make sense to me, because every single one of those things has a different solution, a different way to mitigate
Right.
it.
It's like the fringe Amazonian superfood that says it's going to cure cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, everything.
Everything.
Yeah, to reduce all-cause risk of mortality, and your eyebrow goes up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this even more so, because it's just like, it's science. This is how you fix this issue. It's a different way to fix the other issue. It's
The dog kennel.
Okay.
it just
so,
doesn't make that much
So
sense.
what's your body voltage meter at right now, son?
Here, we'll
2
test.
point, because I can flip my cell phone
It's
on,
like 170 to 180. But watch this. If I touch
and
the dog
theoretically,
kennel-
if I switch my cell phone on,
if I touch the Dad, if I
We'll
touch
just
the dog kennel, watch
Test
this.
everything here.
okay,
Dad,
my cell phone's off right now.
if I touch the dog kennel, it goes up.
Yeah, well, the dog kennel might be a little bit of a conductive
We're
material.
going to put all these things measuring wireless frequencies.
Okay. So we're testing another EMF blocking device. And now, want me to put my cell phone out of airplane mode?
Yeah.
And what we should see is nothing should really spike that much, right?
They have on spikes.
Oh my. Oh my.
Everything just goes through the roof.
Even my no. Oh wait,
How's your body voltage though? Are you protected over there?
Let me touch your
Wait,
phone.
let me see your body voltage. Because
Same thing.
if your body voltage didn't go up, well, see, now the device is not between you and the phone. Right? So that's the idea, is we're testing
But what happens
whether
when you turn Wi-Fi on?
you'll see a significant increase if you flip the Wi-Fi signal on that on.
But I already spiked, so. Yeah, there you go.
So what are you seeing here, Brian?
Seen a lot of frequencies.
But most of these are coming from the phone, yeah? Because if I put
Phone
my
and-
phone into airplane mode,
Wow. Everything.
a lot of them drop down.
Yeah.
But it's- okay, now flip it back off.
Yeah, wow.
I'm not seeing any change there.
Me neither. Well, actually, if you hold it to the bag, I saw it go down on it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a
So,
little bit of a block. But you'd have to have like a giant wall of this.
yeah, you need this
Yeah,
right here.
you'd need like a full-on like tent made out of that material.
Yeah. So this is we've got a new the first organic shielding fabric that's coming
Is
out
that what that
at
is?
the end of the month. This is not organic version. This is a prototype.
Oh,
of
this
just
isn't the boys.
cotton.
You brought that up here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So watch
This will be
this.
interesting. Oh, wow. See that? Now that thing's totally protected. So if you were a person and you had that wrapped around your body,
Somebody got coats out of
that.
Then that would be the game changer right there, right?
Yeah, here, let's just put all of these
They're all quieted down.
things in here.
Oh, wow. So one could get like a blanket made out of this type of shielding fabric?
And it's soft too.
Yeah, blanket or
It is pretty soft.
feel
I
it?
could sleep in that.
Not easily.
we do a canopy around the bed. You have a seamstress that sews these
I don't know
up.
if my wife's going to go for that.
I'd go for it.
You guys could get a canopy.
There's one company in the Bay
get you a
Area.
canopy if you
they
want a
have these
canopy.
fabric walls, and they just bought a bunch of the shielding fabric to do
Yeah.
the walls
Yeah.
and fabric.
Well, like I mentioned to you, if we wind up needing to do certain painting or fabric on the walls, like, you know, we're going I'm gonna say it third time, soup to nuts on this thing.
I have that phrase memorized by the end of this podcast.
So this is silver and cotton fabric,
Okay.
and it can be grounded too.
You guys keep going. I'm gonna press mute on my mic real quick because I have to listen to a quick audio voicemail that I got blasted with as we were testing that. So I'll be right back. You guys keep
All right,
going.
so you're at 1.5. I also want to test the body current. Here, we'll turn some of these guys off.
Should I take off the screen thing? No.
Oh, you can turn it.
Should I take off the screen?
Oh, no, yeah, you can leave that on. It's to protect it from being scratched and stuff. Okay, so you got 4 microamps. Touch that metal cage again. Okay, so that's conducting some current to your body when you touch that. But if you don't touch it, then it's not. So have you lay up all the way up in your bed. Let's see if there's any difference with you guys up in your bed.
Up in my bed.
It's a little bit less, 2.3. We want this to be 0. This number, if it's at 18, there's some government studies that show it's a carcinogenic level at 18 microamps. You're way below that. You're at like 2 to 3.
Yeah. Is that good?
It's good. It's better, but we want it to be at
It's not.
0.
Yeah.
If you're out in nature, it's going to be 0. There's no pulsating, alternating current.
How's mine?
We can go. We might go outside later. Yeah.
How's mine? Let's see.
So and you're little over 2,000 millivolts. Now you're almost up at 3,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug this lamp and tell me if that goes down. You want to unplug it? Went down a little bit. So you can unplug things in the room. That helps. Is there something plugged in over there? Wow, look at that. Went down to 1.2. So it was like
Oh wow.
way, way higher. It went down to like half of what it was just from unplugging those two things. So still 1,200 millivolts. That's still way higher than where we want to be. We want to be down at 10 millivolts, and you're at 1,200. So if you imagine,
Let's try unplugging Godzilla's stuff for a second.
yeah, his stuff's over there, so you could unplug some of that. But if you think about, okay,
It got down to
0.8, 0.7.
Whoa. So Godzilla's
Okay.
stuff has He's trying plugging it.
So it looks like Godzilla's going to need a little bit of an EMF upgrade here.
We might need to give him his own Faraday cage.
Yeah, Godzilla needs a Faraday cage.
Okay, where's it now? Still at it.
So he's at like a 0.8. So the rest of this is just coming from the wiring in the walls.
So basically, Godzilla's cage causes.
Yeah, Godzilla's
a
cage
lot.
seems to cause
These
like
lamps
1,000.
in Godzilla's cage, yeah.
So we'll include in the report some things we could do with that cage to make it safer.
Yeah, well, essentially what we want to do for the boys is we want to have some kind of grounding material underneath the bed to protect the voltage from traveling along the floor. It needs to kind of suck up that voltage. Because right now, right now you're like 800 or 900. You can just kind of see where the voltage is coming from
Wow.
your body. And it's all, it's coming from the wall here. This wall over here is really high.
Wow.
And now watch what happens when,
And so this is the whole night you guys are asleep. That is going on right inside your cells.
yeah. So think about like our ancestors, they were out in nature and they were camping in caves and mud huts and stone structures that they built.
Here we are in
and we didn't have any electricity around them. So it'd be like if you go camping and your dad pulls up to like a primitive campsite, and then he says, oh, look, there's an outlet right there. Plug in an extension cord after you pitch your tent, wrap that extension cord all the way around the tent, under the tent, up over the tent. Does that seem like a healthy place to camp after you do that?
That tastes like a house, kind of.
Yeah, that's exactly like a house. That was actually where I was going next.
Yep.
So that's exactly what we've done in all of our modern homes is we've surrounded ourselves in this pulsating electricity, and all night long while we're trying to sleep, our muscles are doing these micro contractions, just pulsing 120 times per second. And what do you do at night? What's nighttime?
Sleep time.
Sleep time for your body. What does your body do during sleep?
Regenerate.
That's right. Yeah, it regenerates. So are you going to be able to regenerate that well if your body's constantly contracting?
Well, because it's kind of working still. So
Yeah.
And so the solution then would be to ground the beds and also potentially include some type of a shielding fabric on the walls or around the beds.
Yeah, so we have this conductive shielding paint that we recommend for the walls, and then curtains for the windows to block out all the frequencies.
Amazing.
close our curtains.
And
Yeah, we like never close our window. I haven't closed
yeah, so this is pretty sheer. Here, go ahead and pull that fabric up like it's a curtain over the window, just one
But
layer
if
of
if
it.
you knew that your body was going to repair that much
Yeah, you
better
go
while you
outside.
were asleep, you probably would, right? Use something like this because you still get some lighting in.
Yeah, let's see.
Your foot is really higher, right?
Actually, that's not too bad. Like for nighttime, for example, especially, we could easily just have something like that's built into the curtain.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can sew it onto the back of curtains. You can use this as a
Maybe not
sheer-
quite as good of a view when you're sleeping at night, but
curtain
you're
itself.
asleep, and your body will heal better.
Yeah,
It's a great idea.
So one thing I would recommend actually on your guys, I hope you don't mind, I'm standing on your beds,
And we don't.
but
That's what we do.
like you can do a curtain, that's great, but you also have these screens here already in place, and these are fiberglass. If these were a metal screen, that would provide some extra shielding as well.
Right.
So
Okay.
for a lot of people, if they have, especially if you have the metal trim or on the windows on the outside, the metal screen replacement, if it's a full screen like that, will help. And then there's also some people we recommend a window film. Here it wouldn't make as much sense because we got the wood trim. So if you're going to paint here, you're not going to paint the wood trim. You just want to make sure the curtain covers that whole area, because it's essentially like you're trying to create a shield. Like if you take a submarine down in the water, you don't want any leaks, right? Because there's all this pressure.
That's all ruined.
Right. So if there's a weak point that lets some of that in, if the EMF is like with the water, it'll leak in, right? And in a submarine you would die instantly. So with this stuff, you want to kind of think of it like you're in a submarine and you're trying to shield from water, and the water's like the radio frequencies that are leaking in. It can come up
Right.
from below, it can come up through a crack. You
Yeah.
want to try to get as good of a seal as possible.
With the important thing here being that, we can't necessarily, as we're living our lives in this modern world, protect ourselves anywhere and everywhere we go. But in a place where, for example, we'll be spending preferably like a third of our lives asleep in bed, it makes sense that in those places where we can control, we should.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's what I call the most important time, because it's when your body's in what's called a parasympathetic state. You're in this restful state and this reparative mode. And so when you're sleeping, when you're eating, you're supposed to be in a parasympathetic state so your body can digest, and your vagus nerve tells all of your organs to relax and produce these digestive juices, whether it's hydrochloric acid, bile, or pancreatic enzymes. Whatever it is, that vagus nerve needs to be relaxed so that your body can actually digest its food, and you can get the food moving through, and the peristalsis and relaxation of the entire digestive system. So sleeping, eating, and then also detoxing. So when you're detoxing, that's actually a parasympathetic process. Your body prioritizes detox when it's able to not be perceiving external
Which is
threat.
important, for example, something like a sauna, because a lot of people will go into a sauna for some of the detoxification that occurs through the skin.
Yes.
And so you'd want to make sure that your sauna is also not getting blasted with EMF or ELF.
Yes. That's
Okay.
right.
I noticed though, like the more that you're in the room, if you're in the walls, it goes really high. But if you're in the middle of the room, it goes down.
Yeah, it's the wiring in the
There
walls.
you go. So
Yep.
let's do this test. Have Dad hold this,
Okay.
and then you guys have one of you touch the wall here, and then you hold his hand.
I'll hold your hand.
All right.
Okay, so what am I at? 1.65.
All right.
Let go.
And yeah, you can let go.
0.4.
Wow.
See that?
Amazing. So even people can act as antennae.
Yeah. So that
Or
electricity
as,
flowing
as,
through
as
your.
more appropriately conductors.
Yep.
Wow. Crazy.
So that's why it's important to have a grounded barrier between you and the electricity, because it won't come out of the wall.
Excuse me.
When all of this is shielded and grounded, this wall will be
Touch the
zero.
wall and be like at 0.
Yeah, the wall will be zero. There's not going to be anything emanating from the wall.
So that's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to shield and ground
We're gonna
you.
paint our whole
So while your precious bodies are asleep, we'll either do the paint or we'll do the shielding fabric, or we're just going to do whatever Brian recommends on his final walkthrough analysis.
Okay.
So yeah,
Here it'll probably be a combination, because you guys got these nice wood floors and trim.
we'll take care of Godzilla too.
Will the mirror be on?
And you know what's cool
No.
is even the dogs are going to like it because the dogs sleep in here. Pets get exposed to EMF too.
Yep.
That's right.
We got 3 animals. Will
Wow.
Be safer.
Lots of stuff.
Cool. So this is going to be kind of the same in every room, but we'll go and we'll just see what's going on in Mom
Yeah.
and Dad's room too.
So we won't necessarily do like a full video audio walkthrough of every single room, because we'll kind of be rinsing, washing, and repeating in each room. But we're going to show you guys, as you're listening and watching, some of the more important things, and we'll also do a little bit in I think the office is going to be a big one,
Yeah.
and the probably the office, the gym, and then some of those little things, the smart meter,
Yeah.
the solar panel. So
Yep.
yeah.
Actually, let's go do some of that stuff now, and then we can always,
Yeah.
come
Well,
back.
actually,
and-
since we're up here already, we should go into the master bedroom, because I think a lot of people use all sorts of sleep biohacking devices
go.
like
Okay.
I do. And I think we should test what either some of these wearables are doing, right? Things that you wear when you're asleep, and also things that you have on while you're asleep. So let's do that.
Cool.
You need help carrying some of this stuff?
Yeah, let's.
All right. Hey, boys, let's all pitch in and carry all this stuff into the master
Where it
bedroom.
goes? Yeah.
All right.
I can take whatever I can take. Put stuff in the bed. Alright, I got all this stuff.
Okay.
Should I take this? We have these.
You have some of those?
Yeah. Should we
All right.
read this thingy?
Yeah, you can take that. Get the lights later.
Okay.
Should I?
All right. Let's see. Cool. So, do we have enough lighting in here? Is this all right? All right. So, a few of the main things that I think would be interesting for folks is A, there are certain things that run during the night that I think would be useful to test. And I'll run through them. An essential oil diffuser, right? Which is often running right here beside the bed and will run for 6 to 8 hours during a night of sleep. B, a PEMF mat that emits a delta or a theta frequency during the entire night while one is asleep. C, a chili pad that circulates cold water under the bed while you're asleep for your temperature. That's also something that is plugged in. D, this device from this company called Blue Shield that supposedly, when plugged in and running next to the bed at night, protects one from many of these frequencies, which we can test with it on and off. And then finally, in the realm of wearables, I think there are two things that would be interesting to test. This is called a Dream headband that is measuring EEG signals while one is asleep, a relatively new device that I just started experimenting with that I think would be super interesting to see what exactly it's doing to the head while one is asleep. And I think those would be some of the biggies.
Cool. All right.
Have you already tested an Aura Ring, by the way? When that thing's in airplane mode, is it pretty good to go?
Yep.
If you're wearing one, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as long as you have your Aura Ring in airplane mode, it's a moot point.
Yeah.
I always just switch to airplane mode pretty much all the time now, unless I'm downloading data from it.
Yeah, that's how I use it too. Which
All right.
that's been like an invaluable tool
Yeah.
for doing this work. We've just the people that have them, they notice a big
Oh,
difference
yeah,
after
absolutely.
shielding.
Let me grab the boys and come back in. Hey guys, come on in and join us.
Okay.
And then of course my wife's side of the bed where there's nothing.
Right, and you've got the
Approximately.
so you got a grounding mat installed too.
Where?
There's something
yes,
plugged
I
in over
forgot.
there.
There is this mattress by this company. It's a mattress topper. A company called Anti-Aging Mattress sent it up, and supposedly it's lined with, it's grounded and it's lined with negative ion generating minerals, and so that thing's on the bed as well.
Okay.
So there's a lot going on here.
Is that under the mattress here, or
That
under
is
the sheets?
topping the mattress right underneath the top sheets.
Underneath the top sheets? Okay.
And the chili pad and the other PEMF mat are also underneath the top sheets. So
we need like
welcome to the bedroom of a biohacker.
we need an infographic that explains the
exactly,
layers.
Exactly.
Okay, so first thing we'll test is magnetic fields. And then we can just have, okay, so let's turn on everything that you have running at night that's
Okay.
besides the...
So what we're going to do is we're going to flip the chili pad on. Boom. Okay, that's running. So a little bit of an uptick there, maybe not too much. And then the BioBalance PEMF mat. And I'm going to flip that onto sleep mode. Okay, and play. Okay, so that one's running. Essential oil diffuser. On. Okay. Everything's on.
Okay, we need a volunteer, small volunteer. All right. Have you hop on the bed there. And then just hold that. Okay, so this is the same meter that we had over here, but it's got an audio sound here. So it looks like you're at about 1,000 millivolts with the bed. Diffuser. The chili pad looks like it's far enough away that like right up on it, there's going to be a magnetic field, right?
Right.
So people shouldn't have those underneath their bed.
Right. So the chili pad controller shouldn't be underneath the bed.
Yeah. But you've got slightly elevated magnetic field here on the side, but it's not really a concern. And then the electric fields are pretty high. And we'll see where that's coming from here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna actually just hold your hand all on there like that. Okay, so 1200 millivolts. I'm gonna take this and just see where the voltage is coming from. Okay, so this is just measuring. So we got some voltage coming from the diffuser right here next to the bed.
Yep.
Some other from the wall.
Mm-hmm.
What about right there?
Down here. Looks like he's got a grounded. That's a grounded power strip, right?
Yeah, grounded power strip. One of those.
So-
I think I may have gotten that from either low EMF or
Yeah.
one
of those
one of the
websites.
modified Belkin grounded power strips.
Yep, those are good. This right here is creating
That's a blue shield.
a lot of
That's
electric
supposedly
fields.
blocking EMF, but what you're finding is it's producing a lot.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
producing a lot of alternating current electricity. It's plugged
Once
in.
again, we're finding a personal protective device that's supposed to be blocking a lot of these fields is producing more than it's actually blocking.
Yeah, it's producing the electric fields there. And also it's got a light on it that flickers, I know.
Oh, the other one is the air filter. We should get that going too.
Oh yeah. I think we already figured out how to disable the Bluetooth on that, right?
Yep.
So I have a recent video on that you could put in the show notes for people that have a molecule.
Well, I don't know, but does it stay disabled when you turn it off and then turn it back on? You have to re-disable it.
It does stay disabled from my testing.
Okay, I'm gonna check here.
Okay, that was the blue shield flicker.
So blue shield, what if it were moved farther away from the bed? Do you think that there would be any pros? This thing's gonna fire up.
Yeah, if it's creating some unmeasurable field that I am not able to detect with my meters, I don't know.
Right.
I just know.
Well, you know,
I'm
it's
able
that
to-
close to the bed, it'd definitely be an issue.
Yeah, and I'm able to detect the electric fields that it's creating, and also the dirty electricity that it creates from the pulsed modulation, which is usually it can be mitigated with a little plug-in filter pretty easily. All right, so yeah,
I forget where the setting is here to check for the.
oh yeah, it's we should get this on video here.
Okay.
And people can just
This is a
see it.
molecule air filter. These things are pretty popular. So how do you actually ensure that the Bluetooth is disabled on it?
You have to wait for it to go to this off screen. Wow, you got like a. Is that a special screen, or did you put a film on there because it's not as bright?
I think I've got the. No, it's in dark mode.
So you just hold it for like what seems like forever. Sometimes it's been like 15 seconds. Sometimes it's like 30 seconds. Then it comes up. It says tap to disable connectivity.
So then you just tap it once
So you just tap it, and then
confirm.
it says disable, and then you hit confirm.
Wow, good to know. And then it'll reboot. So it wasn't disabled. So perhaps it got unplugged since the last time you were here or whatever. But that's important for people to know.
Yeah.
So that way you disable its ability to be able to like be controlled from your phone or whatever, but it's also
Yeah.
got the Bluetooth disabled on it now.
Yep.
Okay. So you're comfortable with these type of air filters if that's disabled? You haven't found them to be that problematic?
Yeah, definitely not. I mean,
Okay.
if it's, if you have a small room, things like that can be more problematic because you have to have it real close to the bed. But I mean, as you can see, like
Okay.
this thing is on auto right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, nothing.
And there's
That's
like-
good to know. What about this essential oil diffuser?
So that, a little bit of a field coming out of it, like from right there.
So theoretically, this should also be something in an ideal scenario would be like way over here.
Yeah,
Farther away from the
in a
bed.
shielded room, we really want things to be. We've got, like, see, we've even got that field from that cord is coming all the way out to here.
Wow. So if I turn this off, like
It's
that,
still coming out because the electricity
just
is
by
in the
nature
cord.
of it being plugged in.
Yep.
Okay, so then if we unplug it, like this,
No, it's a lot
I'm still getting something.
closer. We're getting it from
Maybe this.
maybe. Let's see.
Okay. This is the PEMF device. There's the two cables coming from it.
So those cables aren't really much higher than the thing, so I'm wondering if that it converts it to DC
Let's see if I
possibly.
yeah, apparently they have an EMF blocker like built into this thing. That's a converter.
So the point is, we got high fields coming from the wall.
Yeah.
That's the highest.
Seems
right
like the
now.
wall is producing the most amount.
And usually, what
'Cause
we
it didn't
do.
seem when I turned the diffuser off then on, it didn't seem to affect it too much.
Right. Yeah. Just being plugged in was the big issue with that.
Yeah.
So, what we normally do is
But even this, for example, could ideally be plugged into a different area of the bedroom that was farther away from the bed, right?
Yeah. If you have a room that's shielded, you have anything that you have plugged in, you just want to make sure that it's close to a
Or you
wall.
can just switch to burning an incense stick instead.
Switch to burning incense. Anything that's not electrical is good. If you can switch it to a battery that has a USB, that's good.
Oh yeah, good point.
So that you might be able to find a diffuser that's able to be put on
Oh, there's
a
lots of
battery.
diffusers that are USB powered.
Yep. So you could do that.
Am I needing to take notes here? Or are you going to put this on the final recommendations list?
We'll have it all on the
All right, cool.
recommendations.
That's. I know a lot of listeners are going to be concerned too. They'll be like, "How do you even remember all this when you're?"
Yeah.
going through the whole analysis.
It can get overwhelming real
Yeah.
quick, but you just have to kind of know that we've got your back.
Okay. All right. Oh, and then the other thing was let's test at least one wearable device. Okay, so this is a Dream headband that supposedly very similar to like an Oura ring, does not emit appreciable amounts of radiation once it's been activated and then has been placed into, like sleep mode. So if I flip this on and it says pairing with headband, and obviously it's going to produce some amount of EMF we know. We might even be able to measure how it is right now. Okay, so headband is paired. And then if I were to, for example, go here and say, okay, I'm going to settle down for a night of sleep, start my night of sleep. My sleep session is starting. And then I'm going to take my phone, turn it out of Bluetooth mode. So supposedly this thing is no longer transmitting to my phone. And then put it on like this. So theoretically, this thing's on my head all night long.
Okay.
Let's see what it does.
So in order to test this accurately, we're going to need to bring you into a zone that's free of wireless radiation
Okay.
to make sure that it's not transmitting. And so to do that, we're actually going to need to get, we need to check the emails, see if Dr. McCullough emailed back about the tent. But we need to set up the tent and have you go in there, and then I'll test. Because we have too much interference right now.
What about if we just go outside and we still got
got the towers,
too.
yeah.
All right, cool. So we'll set this aside. We'll test it later.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it running because you can see it's running right now.
Let's test the flicker on the little
On
thing.
that
'Cause
little-
that's probably it's battery operated, so
Yeah.
probably
Not much
nothing.
going on as far as. Supposedly it's pretty active or pretty accurate EEG analysis of sleep, but I just started experimenting with it. So I'm curious, if I'm wearing this thing in my head all night long.
What is that flickering? Something's flickering. Maybe it is that. Oh, there's infrared maybe?
Yeah, I think it's just using infrared. Okay, it flickers from the fan. Getting some from it.
Yeah, it's got the flicker. So
Wow.
so there's flicker from
But that
the
flicker is not being perceived by my retina, potentially the photoreceptors on the skin here. But how big of an issue do you think that is?
That's the thing is I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that there's been a lot of studies that show flickering light can be beneficial with photobiomodulation at specific frequencies.
Yeah,
But,
that's true.
But it's
Wonder what frequency it is. We could probably find out from the company.
yeah. Actually, if we test,
Interesting.
we could probably test it with this, the frequency. Around
460 nanometers. No,
100 hertz.
100 hertz. Okay.
We got some interference from the light.
Yeah, it looks like
Looks
about 100 hertz frequency.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, so we'll remember. I'll bring this one downstairs. We can test this one when we open up the special EMF blocking tent if we want to test it inside of that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So anything else we want to show people in the bedroom before we go show them the smart meter, solar panel, a few of the other kind of sexy things that we hadn't gotten a chance to show people in the last show?
Let me think here. Looks like got the magnetic fields. We already tested a lot of this stuff last time. The concern was, let's see what happens when we unplug the ground with the body voltage meter.
Okay.
Here. That's one thing we should test because a lot of people have grounding mats that they sleep on, and I kind of want to show what's going on with that.
Which is technically what this is that I'm on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we need. So the grounding mat is underneath the sheet, and hey, River or one of
you know
guys,
the guinea
yeah.
pig fellas.
We need you on the bed here.
On the bed, okay.
All right. So I'm gonna just unplug the grounding mat, and we'll see what the reading does here. All right.
So you're on top of the bed. The bed has a grounding mat on it. And Brian is now going to unplug the grounding mat.
Ooh, it went up.
Went up.
So you see how that goes up?
Yeah, so the grounding mat is offering some protective effect.
It is showing an effect on there. So the question is it, the question with grounding mats is because it's covering the whole bed, right?
Right.
So if it's a grounded barrier between you and the electric field, if most of the electric fields are coming from down below, then it's blocking all those from coming up. But also, if there's electric fields on the wall, which we know there is, then it's also coming down. So what we want to do is we want to test. This also tests electric fields, as does this one. So if we measure the wall, like that 24 volts per meter on the wall right there floating, and then plug that back in. Now it's 26 coming out of there. So now it's grounded.
Sean's seeing as much coming from this wall as you did from the boys' wall.
Yeah, well, this thing has to be grounded to test that. So
There's a satellite on our wall, like on that side of the house. Maybe that's it.
Could be. That's why that shielding paint will be important. Shielding paint or shielding fabric, one of the two.
1300.
Then we're going to plug it back in the ground. So I'm going to explain this in a minute, but
It's an important thing to understand. So you're still getting a lot. What's going on when we ground? When we have a grounding mat underneath the bed, if your body's in direct contact with it, you're grounded as well. And so the voltage is looking for the lowest ground potential. So just like if like how lightning strikes things that are conductive when it's closer to it, that's why you have lightning rods. If the electricity travels through that to the ground, the rod to the ground. So when you have electricity around you and you're grounded, the electricity doesn't just magically disappear or bounce off you. It actually goes through your body to the ground. And what we're seeing on this meter is when there's a grounding mat down, it appears that this is the reading is going down. But what's actually happening is the electricity is taking the path of least resistance. That's how voltage works. It always goes to the lowest voltage potential. So the path of least resistance then, when the grounding mat is on there, becomes not through the meter, because right now it's through the meter, but when the grounding mat's on there, the path of least resistance is to your body, through the ground.
So
there's more.
Ideally,
it transfers
if you have
voltage
a
through the
grounding
body.
mat, it's going to be worse for you unless you've also shielded the wall or the other sources coming in.
Yeah. So
Wow.
the best thing ideally is to remove the electricity and then ground.
Right.
So you have the grounded barrier between the electricity and your body, and then you can safely ground. That's the best way to ground. Whether it's better to ground with electricity around or not ground at all with electricity around, that is kind of up in the air.
But ideally, you ground and at the same time eliminate as many of these sources of electricity with things like shielding fabric or shielding paint or the curtains, etc.
Yeah. You're trying to recreate that caveman environment again.
All right, we're going to turn this bedroom and your guys' bedroom, guys, into a caveman room. Sweet. All right. So, guys, what we're going to do next is we're going to test a couple of other things before we take a lunch break. I think we probably got time to maybe test the, what should you do, a smart meter one?
Yeah, we can do the smart meter.
We'll do smart meter, and then we can save some other stuff for after lunch. Let's see.
So this one, there's a little story behind this, right?
Well, I was gone this summer, and we didn't have this style of meter. And then I came home from one of my trips, and this had magically appeared. And I assume, based on what I know about meters, that this is indeed a smart meter, or appears to be.
Let's test it.
and I had requested whether or not they could remove it, and obviously there's a hefty charge and a monthly fee to remove it. And so now, what I want to determine is, should I be paying to remove this smart meter, or is it really not presenting that much of an issue when it comes to our personal health indoors, with this being where it's at out here?
Right. Now, right on the other side, this is the kitchen. Is that right?
On the other side of this is actually the garage.
Garage. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of the garage.
Yeah, because the mud
Okay. So,
Yeah, Will, if you need to get on that rock, go for it.
so smart meters, they operate around 900 megahertz usually. Different areas, there's some literature that says it goes up to 2.4 gigahertz as well, but I've measured mostly all 900 megahertz. So yeah, with this, let me see. So this is measuring, there's several issues with smart meters. They pulse a radio frequency. They produce a magnetic field because there's lots of current going through them. All the electricity and current is flowing through them. So if the other side of this wall was a bed or something like that, that can be problematic because your bed's right against this like 20, 30 milligauss reading. So you don't want to be close to a magnetic
But
field.
this isn't going to broadcast like 100 feet way up into the bedroom or something like that.
No.
Okay. So this smart meter being out here where it's at, if this were someone else's home and they had a bedroom on the other side of this, it'd be an issue. But if this thing's way out here on the outside of the house, out by the garage, it's less problematic.
Less problematic from a magnetic field standpoint. So that's one issue. Then it also is producing the radio frequency pulse. So there's a little something. I don't know if that's from a phone or it's at 900 megahertz.
I just switched my phone on, so it might be detecting that.
Okay.
But what we're testing right now, guys, is the smart meter. And folks, if you're seeing these little Instagram story clips, we're going to be posting all this on an amazing big podcast we'll be releasing.
So actually I don't think these are smart meters. I do not think they're transmitting.
Really? Well, that's good to know. Because they seem to indicate when I reached out. Maybe they assumed because I asked why there was a smart meter that it was a smart meter, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, this is.
Well, a smart meter automatically detects without someone having to come in and check once a month the electrical usage. It'll just automatically broadcast to the power company the amount of power being used. But it also produces, because it's broadcasting, more EMF. And the question is, A, is this a smart meter that's doing that? And B, if so, is it going to be problematic in terms of the amount of frequencies it's producing?
Yeah, I'm not detecting any spikes. Usually we'd get a 900 megahertz spike and this meter would shoot all the way up to the top
That's
when I'm this
good.
close.
All right, so the smart meter doesn't seem to be much of an issue. Or the meter doesn't
The
seem to be
meter,
much of an
yeah,
issue.
it's not.
That's good to know.
A lot of times when they do install solar, it's a different system that
That'll
they're
make Nessa happy because I was
using.
going to have her start leaving rude messages with the power company. Might be a moot point though. Now,
Yeah.
while we're out here, you know what else we should test is the solar, since we got time, and this doesn't seem to be that big of an issue.
Yeah.
All right.
So
All right. So the solar is going to be more inside in the garage.
okay. Yeah, let's go there.
Okay. All right. So Brian, our solar setup is basically here's the battery storage. We kind of had this last time you were here.
Yeah.
But I think what we installed was we actually purchased, I think from Shielded Healing, an inverter.
Right.
Or,
yeah.
or
it's
like a not an inverter,
power
but
conditioner.
like a power conditioner. And I think that's on the other side in here. Sorry about the tight space, but we can squeeze in. So here is the Power Perfect box, which is here's the backup panel, Power Perfect box, and then the solar's coming in to those batteries. So what would you test in here if you're going to test something?
So we just need an outlet to plug into, and then
Okay.
we'll test it with the Power Perfect
Okay,
breaker
outlet
on and
over
off.
there. And the Power Perfect, that's the one that we got from you, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the whole house filter,
Okay.
and
Hold on one sec.
need the other meter from inside too. So
You can send the boys on a quest.
yeah,
Which one
you
do
guys,
you need?
one that looks like this, but it's white.
Okay.
Should be in on the kitchen table. And then,
So we got to plug in right
I think
here.
if you got any room over there to plug something in. Yeah, just throw anything off to the side if you need to.
Make sure I don't get the wire there.
Is there an available outlet or plug back there?
I could probably unplug one of these. What's this thing? Orbit.
I'm actually not sure if one of those is unplugged, if it would be an issue or not. Because I think those are running the, what are those running? I think so.
Is this it?
The Stetserizer?
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Well, we can also do outlet like in the garage.
Yeah, okay. That works.
And we could just relay the message.
Or I could drag an extension cable from outside into
Yeah,
here.
that would work too.
Okay, perfect. Hey, boys, can one of you take this extension cable, whoops, and plug one end of it into, actually this one. Here, just plug this in,
Over here?
and then we'll plug the other end in. Oops, sorry, 1 second. Okay, here we go.
Oh, here's the one.
Wilbur. Do you like
Here's a-
Will or Wilbur? Oh, you got one?
Here's an
Never
outlet
mind,
right
guys, we got one.
Whatever comes to mind first.
I wasn't sure if it was Will or Wilbur. So I just
His name's Wilbur Sensing.
Okay, not about it.
Sensing is a great name for a photographer and videographer because he's filming things that we sense.
So the solar is on right now, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's really low. So let me turn. So the breaker for this, it's probably marked. Let me see.
Yeah, the breaker for the solar is marked.
In the Power Perfect system right here. Cool.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to turn that off. And when we turn that off, we should see a change in the reading if it's.
Okay.
So now it's off.
Now it's at 197, 200.
What was that before?
40.
A lot lower, 40.
Oh, wow. So that Power Perfect's doing a lot.
Yeah, it's doing a lot.
So that's essentially a whole house dirty EMF filter,
Yeah,
and it's working on the solar as well.
right.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So normally we'd be getting 190 millivolts while running this solar, and with the Power Perfect box installed, that's reducing dirty electricity from the AC-DC conversion on
Yeah.
the solar, and flip it back on. So let's see what it drops down to. So if we could see this on camera, don't flip it on yet. So here's what it is without the whole house dirty EMF filter. That's also plugged into the solar. Okay, flip it on now.
Or
Boom, nothing. That's impressive. Dropped it down to 40.
okay. So sometimes, usually with the solar panel or a solar inverter, it's going to be like even higher than that. It's usually going to
Yeah.
be like 1,500, 2,000.
Wow.
You've also got a lot of the plug-in filters around the house, which helps
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So, but this is really close to the panel, and we've got it placed in the exact
Yeah.
right location. So
Perfect.
it filters
Well, I'm
it
glad
before it even
something's
goes in.
working. All right, so some of the modifications we made since Brian's last visit, they're actually working. Hooray. Hey, babe, we're finding out all sorts of cool things we can do to oh, she's not out here anymore? All right,
It's okay. She can watch the video later.
she can watch later.
No, right now it is.
Cool. All right. So let's just. So first off, we'll just test the outlet. That's pretty low. That's low. That's low. Okay, no issue there. No wiring issues. At least on those circuits. Let's test this light. Test the bathroom light, switches. And there's a fan right here. That actually didn't turn on. Okay. All right. So I know there's going to be electric field issues from the wiring. This I'm just 9.2 gigahertz. So that is from our audio devices. It's running around 2.4 gigahertz. Let's see if T-Mobile. Nope. Some cell towers. Radio and cell towers. Yeah, it's typical. I'll have to come up here and test with the other equipment when we're not wired up with all the wireless frequencies. But there's not really anything too crazy going on up here. The wiring's good, the dirty electricity's low, and I don't think I do have this. There is electricity in the wall, so this would need to be grounded and shielded. So you're going to have a high body voltage on the bed, and then there's an outlet right on the back of the bed there. So whole bed's pretty electrified. Then we'll test the floor. The floor is electrified too, from the lighting below in the gym. So the solution for this would, ideally we'd have the floor grounded, fleece underneath the flooring material. That's not going to happen here, so we would do a mat just underneath the bed that's grounded, and then the walls would be painted with the shielding paint, curtains or window film to cover, or you can do a canopy on the bed to get the full radio frequency protection and electric field protection. That's it for that. We'll test the lighting when we have the other meter over here for the gym. Bring it over here. Here, wait, don't do it all the way. So put you on. And take it in there.
That's really weird.
Okay, now watch this. This is the wireless signal on the body. So we're like 4,500. So you have to pinch the tip of that. Go ahead and grab that.
Okay.
So, first thing we have here is a sleep monitoring headband. This one's called a Dream. And I'm going to connect that to the phone to make sure that it's still on. Okay, so we go. Okay.
How do you tell? Look at that face.
You don't even have to put it on, but okay.
Just
Here,
wanna know
let me,
if it's
let me
in-
see it for a second. So I gotta turn it on.
Yeah, this is spiking to like 0.5. 0.5. Oh, wait, exactly.
Okay, it's pairing. Okay, so this guy is ready now, and it's on. Okay, so I'm going to start a night of sleep, press on, and then what I'm going to do,
Should I be wearing it?
you don't have to wear it, you can just be holding it if you want. Okay, and then I'm going to turn the Bluetooth on my phone off. Okay, so what do we do next? How do we actually measure what this thing's doing?
So when you take the, let's see,
This is green. This is like the okay.
yeah, the E-Smog. It's called
Yep,
E-Smog
yep.
Spion.
Yep, got it.
That's the one you want.
Ich mag Spion.
It's a German. Just take that close by.
Do I have to hold on to the antenna thing?
Yeah, so it's emitting a little bit of something.
So do I have to hold on to the antenna thing?
Yeah. Let me make sure that that's not on the flicker.
Gosh.
So that's the high, it's really high outside,
Okay.
and we wouldn't be able to test that.
Right, because you get a bunch of interference.
You can hear that there's a little bit of a radio frequency coming from the circuitry in there,
Okay.
really close.
From the circuitry in the actual headband.
Yeah, it's not actually a Bluetooth signal.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Okay,
What-
so that radio frequency signal, talk to me about if someone were wearing that on their head during an entire night of sleep, whether it would or would not be an issue.
I would be concerned about it myself.
So how much radio frequency is it generating?
Well, what we're doing is we're measuring, here, we can measure it with another meter too.
And we
That
know
one we
we
just-
know for sure that it's that actual device that's doing it.
Yeah, it's the only thing in there
I
that's,
have to take it off.
Yep.
You getting this on video? Interesting. Okay, so sleep monitoring headband that's supposed to be very low EMF is producing appreciable amounts of radio frequency
Inside, like a
right
safe
next
safe.
to your skull during an 8-hour night of sleep.
Inside of a super
non-EMF
safe
thing.
tent.
Despite giving really good sleep data, the problem is, okay, so now it's gone.
No,
Well, this one is not measuring low enough. So this is telling me that this meter doesn't pick it up because it's a lower frequency than what
Okay.
that meter will
But
detect.
the other meter does pick it up.
Yeah.
And this is not like a pulsed electromagnetic field signal that would be therapeutic. This is an actual radio frequency
No,
signal.
yeah, this is actually from the device itself.
Okay.
Even like 2 inches out. So it's going to be going 2 inches into your head,
Okay.
Out.
that signal.
All right, so next we're going to test an Apollo.
Okay.
So this is a wearable that is,
the thing on
it's
the back
in- so this emits a signal that kind of like lulls your body to sleep at night. And I have it now in airplane mode.
Okay. You guys test that?
Whoa, spiking.
That's a Bluetooth signal. Whoa.
So the only problem is that might be trying to pair right now,
Okay.
but it's that dot that's a Bluetooth signal
Yep.
as it's running. We get anything else from it?
Yeah, there's another. You can hear that.
That's
This
also
one's
radio
stronger.
frequency.
Yeah,
This
that's
one's
also a type of
stronger.
radio frequency. And here's the thing: we're getting a small amount of radio frequency from that.
Seems like less from that than from the headband. Wait, is the headband still in there? Okay, no, it's not.
Does it kind of have a vibrating thing that it does a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna feel a little vibrating.
So you can hear that kind of going with the vibration that's happening with it.
Yep.
So whatever's causing the vibration to happen, it's got some kind of arcing that's going on in the circuitry itself. And that is what's causing that to happen. So let's see.
Turn this on and see what happens.
Are you able to measure the amount? Because obviously anything's going to produce a small amount, but
Right.
I'm concerned about dosages that have been shown to be actual biological issues.
So right now with the Bluetooth, it's
Where'd that thingy go?
showing a
It's really
significant.
The only problem is, I think one of the reasons it's doing the Bluetooth is because that wearable didn't actually get paired to my phone the right way, so it might still be trying to send out a Bluetooth signal to pair.
Okay.
But see,
Yeah, if you can turn that off, then it's probably, it'll reduce that Bluetooth signal, but the thing that's going wow.
right,
wow,
but we still get that radio frequency.
yeah.
So even if the Bluetooth could be disabled, we still know that it's producing this radio frequency.
Yeah. And
If
so-
I later on get this, well, let's see. Try one other thing here. This. Let's try this. See if it picks it up now.
Does not seem to like the wrist journal.
Okay, let's see if it picks this one up. Okay, let me try one quick thing here.
A lot outside of this tent.
Yep. Outside here
I
is.
feel very safe inside of this tent. I'll say that.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I've got it paired now, so I'm going to flip it on, okay, and then I'm going to press play. And now what I'm going to do is go down here, which is the exact instructions I got from the company. Push here, go turn on airplane mode. Airplane mode on. Okay, now put it back in there. So we know for sure now this is the exact setting it's supposed to be on if you're sleeping with it. That's not supposed to be producing much of a much of a signal.
You guys do it?
Oh yeah.
So now it's not doing the Bluetooth thing, right?
Right. Yeah, the Bluetooth
Okay.
is off.
Okay, so we fixed that.
It's vibrating.
Still getting a little bit of RF, but it seems like less. It's just like when it produces that sound wave, which it's supposed, I mean, we expect to be producing something because it's producing a sound wave that's supposed to be traveling up your bones to lull your body to sleep. Mm-hmm. And that sound wave is going to be interpreted as some type of radio frequency, right?
Well, yeah, because there's electronic components in it and it's
Yeah.
making that vibration, there's some
But
kind of
it doesn't
arcing
seem
that's
like compared to
going
the headband that's producing as much.
on. No.
Why does this
So
thing vibrate?
this one seems like something I'd be a little more comfortable with, but that headband right up next to the head,
Yeah, going like two
that's
inches.
that's kind of concerning.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to ask the company about that and just make 100% sure there's not some kind of setting that could be adjusted from the app. But at this point, that's surprising
yeah.
because I was told by the company that once you've turned it on and then disabled Bluetooth and started the Night of Sleep collection, that everything just flips off and it no longer produces
Yeah.
a signal.
So it's not. That's the thing is it's not a actual signal that's being created on purpose. It's just something from the circuitry that's causing that to happen. Because I've been in places like Green Bank, West Virginia, where they don't have any radio frequency like towers. They have this big radio telescope that they're getting images from these really minute radio frequencies that we receive from the stars. Mm-hmm. And so they don't want anything to interfere with their telescope readings. And I go there and I test things, and I could pick up radio frequencies from my radio frequency meters, actually. So the electronic components in the meters themselves.
Oh, wow.
Everything has a slight radio frequency, even battery-operated things. The question is it shielded enough to where it's going to be penetrating onto your body, especially if it's a
Right.
wearable? That's really important to
Right.
know.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys want to go downstairs?
I like it in this tent. Yeah.
They like it in the tent. So this is a prototype tent from Dr. Mercola. I worked with his team to develop this, and it's meant to be a travel tent. So my kids, they actually use this when we go to hotel rooms and stuff. We'll put it on the bed, and they all hop in and they use it. They love it.
I love it.
All right, guys, we're going to go test all our fun stuff downstairs now. What do you think? We can, the thing with the biocharger is, we can show it to Brian, but we know that thing's producing, it's designed to produce PEMF, electrical radiation, negative ions, flickering light, like that's kind of its purpose. So it will probably just be a total storm down there. All right, so what do we need to take downstairs? We can help carry stuff if we need to here.
This thing.
What's that thing? Oh, yeah, that means.
Yeah, that
We'll
measures
just
all three at
I'll
once.
pitch in and help Brian take down whatever you need to take down.
Okay, we'll take this guy down. The other orangish yellow meter, we'll take that.
What do you need help with, Dan?
Let's see, this one right here.
This guy?
Yep.
Anything else?
And take this and this. And I'll take this. Take that. I want to measure flicker.
Are you guys figuring out that grill okay? Is there a problem? Okay. Okay, sweet. Awesome. All right. Amazing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll grab some when I come back up here. All right.
Let me know if you guys need anything.
Will do, thanks.
Thank you. All right, let's see. I'm gonna go over here.
The sauna is magic.
So, obviously there's a lot in here. I can flip the lights on, which are the main lights that I'll use during the day if we want to test any. And then anything else you see in here, Brian, that you think would be notable to test, we can.
Sounds like a siren. Use the restroom.
Hey, Taryn, where's River?
Right here.
Okay.
So those are what? How many watts?
Mm-hmm.
Phillips. Of those 250 watt bulbs?
I think they're 250, pretty sure. We replaced the LEDs that were in here that were producing pretty appreciable flicker.
Yeah.
The last time you came in and tested, we replaced them with these,
Yeah, these are a lot
which
better.
seem a lot cleaner.
Have you noticed a difference with the new ones? You like them more?
I like them. They're a little less harsh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how about if we go in here into the this room and we flip these lights on? Let's see what these do. Also pretty clean down here.
Yeah.
The lights. We're just testing the flicker. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. Flicker on the lights right now. You want to see what the biocharger does?
Yeah.
Well, let's get the magnetic field meter.
Okay. Or do we want to focus on the office for now, then come in here?
We can do it in there.
Okay. Oh yeah, we totally will.
Is it PDMF or PEMF?
Pulsed electromagnetic field, so PEMF. I can put this one on too.
I always think it's PDMF.
We'll test things one at a time. Just so you guys know, I'm plugging this in, so don't trip over the cord.
I'll be behind it.
All right. What I'd like to do actually, when we test this, is I come down here for like 20 minutes at night before dinner, and I sit in this chair and I turn the biocharger on, and I sit here and I read my Bible. So I want to know if, as I'm connecting to God and making myself spiritually stronger, if I'm just totally screwing myself biologically. We're gonna find out.
All right, one more thing I want to grab. Let's see,
I'm gonna guess what I'm about to do. Brian has not tested before.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna sit down, like I'm in here at night. I'm in my recovery room, and I'm like sitting in this chair. And first, we'll turn the biocharger on without the PEMF on, and we'll test. Actually, you know what we should do is test it without the biocharger on first, with just the PEMF unit.
okay.
See what we're getting out of this. With this thing kind of like, it's usually like right there beside me. And I'm sitting in here reading. And so you ready?
Here, we'll get a baseline.
Or Brian. But don't do the biocharger yet, okay?
There's like burns on this end.
So hold that.
Okay. Okay, so here's my body voltage. We got this on camera.
Here, mister.
Here, hold that.
So
Should
sitting
I do nitro?
sitting in the pulsed electromagnetic field chair,
And you just hold that right
Okay.
there. That's the magnetic field.
testing my magnetic field, testing my body voltage. And what we'll also do after we test this is we'll move the actual unit farther from my body and see if there's a difference when this thing is moved farther away versus closer. But we'll start with it kind of like tucked in here, nice and close. Okay.
Should I turn this on? No.
No, we're gonna do the biocharger after this.
Alright, start.
Is that better?
When Brian says start.
All right, I think we're ready.
Okay, start and then just turn it all the way up to 100%.
It's like actually it's burning.
Blame it on the dog.
I'll put it on my
Okay, so it's obviously, just keep it at 7.8. Keep it at 7.8. Here. Just put it right there and then What's my body voltage?
Stayed pretty much the same.
Okay.
I'm gonna check your current now. So that's
and then-
29 microamps.
Now, what happens if we move that farther away? Any change?
The current stayed the same, about 2830 microamps.
This is warning.
Or 70 hertz. So that's just from the pad itself.
But you would expect for one of these to produce quite a bit of electromagnetic radiation. That's what it is.
Yeah,
It's
it's
electromagnetic
producing.
radiation producing device. But this pulse wave it's producing, when you were describing at the beginning of this podcast how PEMF is more of a therapeutic frequency, with this device on and someone sitting in this chair, you just turn it off?
Yeah, I didn't know if you're still using it.
Nope. I'll tell you when to turn it off. So go ahead and turn it back on, all the way up to where it was before. Yep, here. So you go like this, and then try not to touch any dials. Okay.
So I wasn't sure if you wanted to.
Okay. Do you think this would be problematic from a radiation standpoint?
That's the question.
Because I feel amazing when I finish
Yeah.
using this thing.
So what's interesting is it's mainly in the below 2 kilohertz range and above 2 kilohertz. So I'm changing it to the different frequencies. There's not a 50-60 hertz magnetic field here.
Wow.
What I'm getting is this magnetic field from the up to 2 kilohertz and over 2 kilohertz, and then also the 16.7 hertz. So what's the hertz frequency of the mat itself?
Right now I have it on 7.8 pulse per second
Okay.
with a magnetic field strength of 103 for milligauss.
Okay. So I would say this is one of the safer machines that I've measured as far as like what it's purported to do versus
Well, that's
the
good.
shielding
Considering it
and
costs like
everything.
$40,000, I would hope.
Yeah. So
right.
let's see. I'm going to check one more thing. I'm curious about the current here. And 26 microamps. So I'm going to go to the hertz. See what frequency.
Grab your brother, Taryn.
44 kilohertz. So that part is concerning, the kilohertz reading that we're getting there from the current, pulse current. So what I'm curious about is if that is, when we turn it off,
Okay, so
if
now
that goes away.
Okay, so Taryn, go ahead and flip this off now,
Yeah.
and we're gonna see if that goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So now that makes me wonder if this is creating any amount of dirty electricity.
Now, what if we move this about as far away from the body as we can get? Okay, so Taryn, turn it. See if you can just flip it, press start, and then turn it back up to 100, and get it as far away from me as possible. And then let's see if it does that, if it produces that same effect, and we'll see if it's just the generator itself.
So it looks like it's about the same.
Keep it at 7.
Yeah, just leave it
Trying
there.
to change
Excuse
many
me.
settings
I'm gonna get one
on
more.
it.
Yeah, it's at 7.8 right now.
Okay. And I'm gonna check. So that's the harmonics or the dirty power that it's creating. Okay, now we can turn it off, and
Okay, go ahead and flip it off.
so then it goes down to that.
Drops down to 45. Is that significant?
Yeah, that's pretty significant. So there is some dirty electricity that's being produced by the device itself, and that is coming onto your body. That's separate from the therapeutic.
Do you think that plugging this into a dirty electricity filter would help with that at all?
Maybe a little bit. We can test that. because I think you've got a few around here.
Do we have one plugged in? Do you guys want to grab a dirty electricity filter from Dad's office?
What's it look like?
It's one of those little.
Are they black?
I have a few. I have some of the black shielded healing ones, but then some of the green, like I think they're the green wave. I know. I got to get rid of these
No,
hiccups.
it looks like that plug-in right
bad-
there.
bad
but
for
we might need to
podcasting.
keep that one there.
Salad hiccups.
I've got one
we
up
took
here.
a break, just for those of you listening in, we took a break after we did the solar panel and the guest house and the smart meter, which we have determined is not a smart meter after all. We ate a bunch of salad and sprouts and salmon and
Bread, Mom.
sourdough bread and all manner of different vegetables and shoots and greens. So I've got veggie hiccups.
Where did the big black outlet thing?
Okay, so now we've got this plugged into a dirty we got one. We got this now plugged into a dirty electricity filter. So let's flip it back on now.
So it's about half.
So that's
coming
good. We
onto
know if
the
we
line.
run this on a dirty electricity filter,
Yep. And then let's
that's helping.
plug this in and we'll see what this is. So it's still going onto the ground though.
Oops, sorry.
So it's okay. We found out what.
All right, I think we
needed.
figured it out, brother. All right, so best practice is have that thing as far away from the body as possible, and have it plugged into a dirty electricity filter.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Can I try this?
Noted. I'm gonna write a quick note to myself that we're gonna need to get one of those shielded healing filters in here. All right, should we test the biocharger now?
Yeah. Let's go for it.
Okay,
This
actually,
is
you know
gonna-
what?
this is gonna be
Before you
interesting.
flip it on, because it's gonna totally throw my phone all wacky, because it messes with the touchscreen.
I'm just putting that far away.
Here, let me get some of my equipment out of the way.
Yeah,
Just to
this thing's pretty
make
hefty.
sure. Some of this equipment can handle.
Okay. All right.
Some of it can't, so I just want to make sure.
Prepare for the biocharger. Wait till Brian gives you the go ahead.
Snobbed you.
Don't press that because it just
Okay,
shuts
so
the
I'm
whole thing
already
down. It's
getting-
the emergency shut off switch.
I'm already getting some current.
Is that
Ground
thing's
current here.
off that you have that on top of, right? Because that's a vibrating foam. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
off. Okay.
Still getting some ground current just being down here.
Interesting.
Well, we are like in the ground, so.
There was definitely.
From wiring underneath, I think wiring. in
Yeah,
the floor.
just from the difference in. It's usually the difference between the foundation ground and the house ground. And there's not a continuous conductive surface underneath the ground.
Okay.
So that causes voltage changes to happen wherever
Right.
wherever you're walking
Excuse me.
around. And so when there's wiring in the wall, the current's flowing through your body down to the floor, and sometimes the current will flow up from the floor through your body to something over here. Just kind of depends on the situation. We can't really measure if it's going from the ground up or up down.
Now, is there a
we just-
fix for something like that?
The fix is to have a continuously conductive surface that's grounded to the same potential
Interesting.
So like a
Okay.
metal.
through the whole
Excuse
floor.
me.
So this stuff is actual like gym flooring.
Right.
Rubber.
Because this actually used to
Rubberized
be our
material.
gym before we converted it into more of like a recovery facility.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll turn on the biocharger and we'll see what happens
All
to
right.
the
You
current.
ready? Here we go.
Oh wait, let's get
Wait,
this
wait.
on too, because we know there's going to be a magnetic field.
All right. Can I get this on video?
Wait.
Here we go.
All right,
Biocharger away. Ready?
Set,
ready?
Go.
Holy moly!
I mean, we're expecting this, though. That's what it's supposed to do, is create a pretty significant electromagnetic field.
This is the highest I've ever seen on this meter.
Wow.
What's that?
2,840 microamps.
That's what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check the voltage now.
So some EMF is therapeutic. And that's what we're going after with this device.
Do not put anything metal close
So now we got 4.5 volts, 4,500 millivolts. It's at 32 kilohertz.
Oh wow, watch this. When I touch the wall, it goes down. Why is that? And when I take my hand off the wall, it goes way up.
Do that again.
Okay, hands on the wall. See how it
Maybe-
drops?
maybe is this
Oh no,
changing?
this thing's changing, but watch. So hand on the wall. This is gonna go through a whole wide range of frequencies, this biocharger will. So I'm at 3.44, watch when I take my hand off the wall. It goes way up.
Huh.
mind-blowing.
Hand on the wall, back down.
Let me
And off
test
the
your
wall.
whole body.
Whoa.
First, let's go. We know that's high over there. If there's this much current going through the body, there's the potential that your body is producing some kind of magnetic field itself. Because that's a lot of current. 14 volts now, 14,000 millivolts. Me just standing here. If I get close,
Yeah, and you're supposed to be like 3 to 5. They say the closer you are to it, the better when you're using it.
so
And this device is measuring the
electric field.
The electric
So-
field, yeah.
we're getting 64 kilohertz
Well, you got like 1,000 volts of lightning a second generated by this Tesla coil that's in there.
and 51,000 millivolts or 50 volts
Wow.
right now going through my body to the ground. Probably.
So it's working as advertised, basically.
It's definitely doing something.
blasting.
I don't feel comfortable with it.
I mean, I
but-
feel like amazing when I finish using it, like fully charged up.
it's possibly
Like compared to like cell phone, Wi-Fi router, I feel brain fog and drained. When I finish this thing, I feel totally charged, like really amazing. So I would say this might fall under the category of like high dose therapeutic EMF.
yeah, it's possible. I don't think it would be as much of a parasympathetic because it's very
Oh
stimulating.
no, it's incredibly stimulating.
Yeah, it's a stimulating.
They have one like nighttime setting that's more like a real, and you can't even hear it like this. It's really kind of like lower end, but this one is like a full body sweep. So
Right.
it's supposed to be kind of like waking up the body.
Okay, let's see I just want to see this again. I've never seen that reading that high.
And I'll send this podcast also over to the folks at Biocharger, when we release it and get their feedback on it too, because they're going to want to listen to it anyways.
Yeah, that's
And I'm sure they have some feedback, because I would imagine they've tested this. Because the guy who creates it, like that's all he does is test Tesla frequencies, Rife frequencies, radiation, electrical radiation,
Yeah.
and magnetism.
yeah. This isn't to say that there's anything dangerous or wrong about this product. It's just when I'm testing
It's
these
producing
things.
a massive film.
Yeah, you need
Yeah.
to make sure that you've done your research and that your body is,
Oh
is
yeah,
ready for something
I can tell
like
you
this.
like sleep cycles, but they do say some people like detox. See now it's
Now
going
it's
super
overload.
high. Yeah. Careful, we don't want to break the meters.
340 kilohertz.
Should I try the arc?
Holy. I'll check the voltage.
What's it at now?
Did you get that on camera?
68 volts.
The arcing.
68?
It's overloaded on the microamps on the
If you guys are
current,
listening to this, this is definitely a part of the podcast where you're going to want to watch the video portion.
the current going through there. He just arced his body on the. Zzz. It's not doing it anymore.
It's like
The
so
peak is down. I think you
discharged.
discharged.
discharged,
Yeah,
yep.
definitely.
Wow.
So I wouldn't.
Try if I touch the wall again and then touch this. See that?
Overs.
Yeah.
Watch when I release the wall and touch it. Still get a little bit.
They're gonna burn your finger.
It's, I'll survive.
Yeah, 50 volts. What's interesting is I've measured saunas that are 65,000 millivolts or 65 volts
And what
when
was
people are
this?
sitting in the sauna. This got up to 50.
50. So these type of, we tested this sauna last time, right?
Yeah, that was.
We were more concerned about cell phone towers and radio towers that were coming in through and we still haven't painted the wall or done, and we're going to be implementing all those recommendations after this analysis. But the sauna, if you guys go back, you can listen to the previous episode because we did the full walk through the sauna.
Yep.
And from what I recall, the biggest issue in that was all the frequencies coming in
Yeah.
through the window.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when we ground and shield the walls, all those radio frequencies will go away. All the electric fields from the wall that were coming into the sauna will go away as
So
well.
we're going to turn this into a cave too, guys. Awesome. Except when we flip the biocharger on, it'll be anything but a cave. All right, so should we go into the office now?
Yeah.
All right.
One thing you should ask the biocharger guys is if it's safe to have grounded things around with this.
Okay.
Conductive grounded things. So you should put that in your notes just to, like how far away, like if you have a fully grounded surface on the wall, because this voltage is probably going to come out even more if there's more ground, like a lower voltage.
So basically, the question I'm going to ask them is what?
Just say, I'm planning on shielding the room that the biocharger is in, and it has this conductive paint that's grounded. Is there any concern, with having
Entire room with conductive grounding paint. Is there any concern with the biocharger? And what would the main concern be, you think?
Well, because everything's going to be lower voltage potential, like on the wall. Would it be bad to be between the wall and the biocharger, for instance?
Yeah. I'll ask them.
Because it's going to want to go toward the lowest voltage.
I'll email them and I'll CC you on the email as well. Okay, so and then this is the hyperbaric. Do you want to test this at all just to see what it does?
Sure.
Do you think we should test somebody inside of it?
Yeah, we should get
With everything flipped on? Hey guys, we might do the hyperbaric here too real quick just to test. Like put somebody in there, zip it up. One of you guys want to be a guinea pig?
Already volunteered.
All right. So we'll ask Brian what meters you need to have in there.
What? You don't want that?
You don't need to have the oxygen mask on.
Oh, I thought that was a cup.
No. HBO, you can keep that in there. It's fine.
Hopefully nobody ever mistook that for a cup.
No, I hope not because I put it on my face every day. That's why I was picking pubes out of my teeth the other night.
Okay, guys, I got the little bar here. Hold on to the bar. All right.
So what we'll do is I'll flip everything on, but we're not going to zip you guys up because that's really not going to change anything. I'm just going to turn everything on that's running and see how much EMF we get when this thing's running. And then, by the way, that ice tub, the Morosco Forge, is right outside the office door.
Okay,
so we
cool.
can test that after we do the office.
All right, so right now without it on, we're pretty high. We're on
So in the
2,000
hyperbaric, we're at 2,000.
2,000
And
millivolts.
what's that measuring?
Electric fields
Okay, inside.
inside.
And that would mostly be coming from the electrical wiring, the walls surrounding the HBOT unit. all
Yeah,
that kind of
so if I stand on this electrical cord that's plugged in, hey guys, could one of you stick your hand out?
So you just grounded him, right?
Who is yeah? So I'm grounding him. Yeah, if I was actually more insulated from the ground, the reading would go up.
Yeah, we're pretty insulated. There's like a mat in here.
Yeah, you guys are insulated in there.
Now, should we
So-
see what happens when we turn it on?
Yeah, sometimes when you turn it on, it's interesting. The reading will go down because the current's
I'm
flowing.
going to
So
flip
we'll
both
see.
the oxygen scrubber on, and then I'm also going to flip the actual air compressor on. Okay.
Okay, so
So now we're running very similar to how we'd be running if we were actually doing an HBOT session, even though it's not actually zipped up.
700, and then we'll measure the magnetic field as well.
Seems like it'd be pretty easy to put an HBOT chamber, like to retrofit it with grounding cloth.
Yeah, you should be able to. I mean, when you shield the room, it'll take care of a lot of that issue
Yeah, that's true.
with the grounding and everything. So the concern is these motors running close by. Can you guys see in there?
Could you tell me the reading?
What's it say?
What?
Say it loud.
6.6? 0.6? Okay, how about over here? Like, so your head's normally that way, right?
Yep.
2 point whatever. Okay, so, all right, you can hand it to me. So I would say moving that away, further away from that's gonna
Basically,
help with that magnetic
move the
field.
air compressor and the oxygen scrubber as far away from the actual chamber as possible.
Yeah.
Kind of like the PMF. Like just move anything that's controlling something as far away from it as possible.
Yep, definitely.
Makes sense.
That'll help with the magnetic field and unhook.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Plus, if we ground or if we shield this room, I have a feeling that's going to help out quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
And then as far as the dirty electricity filter goes, to my understanding, if one is plugged into just one outlet of the room, that kind of takes care of the dirty electricity in every other outlet, assuming they're all run on the same breaker.
Yeah, sometimes there's an ideal location to put it, like the first line that comes in. But really, if you're trying to protect from a source that's in the room that's created while it's on, it's best to have it that device directly plugged in. And actually, we could get the reading probably lower that's coming onto the electrical line if we had one extra one in here. Just because that thing was, when that was on, it was producing a lot.
Okay.
So I would do 2 in this room at least. 2 should be adequate.
More better?
More better. Yeah. Yeah, man.
More better. Okay, cool.
All right, you guys, can you?
All right, guys, we're going to go in the office now.
Okay.
All right, what else do we want to test in here?
Well, I would really love to optimize your desk space for body voltage if we can.
Okay. So how do we do that?
Well, we need to trace down all the electric field sources.
Okay.
So we'll be testing your body
And
voltage
then we got
there.
the grounding mat here as well. This is the one that's plugged into this so I've got kind of 2 different grounding mat setups in here. The first is this grounding mat right now is run via a cable out to the ground out there where there's like a steel rod driven into the ground. And I
Right.
stand on this when I'm working. But then also, this same company, Ultimate Longevity, they sent me these which can plug into the grounding outlet here. And these will attach to like little patches that you can put on your body to ground you or earth you via those patches.
Right.
So is there any way to test whether or not something like that is helpful or harmful?
Yeah, we should test. So you normally, when you normally stand on that while you have those plugged in as well?
Sometimes
or-
I have these on, sometimes not, but we could
Okay.
we
Well-
could test both.
Yeah, let's
like
do that.
Sometimes, like an ideal scenario, I'll have just like both attached to me because I'm a Morris better guy, as you know.
Yeah.
So we could try that. And the way that would look is I would basically take one of these patches like this and oops.
EKG patch.
Yeah, it's basically an EKG patch. And I would, this one's kind of seen better days, so.
I'm just going to unplug this for a second.
Yeah. And then we got like this Nano V here as well. A lot of biohackers are using that thing. We can always test what that's doing as well. But, some chocolate. One of Jess's wonderful dark chocolate peanut butter. Or it might have been that drinking cacao I had after lunch. Anything. Jogging.
We had that coffee drink. Okay. All right, so this is on now.
River or Taryn, you guys in here? Hey guys, come on in. Come check this out. So now we're testing the grounding mat.
All right, so hold that.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Right, you had this in here.
So right now, is it plugged in or not? Because we can easily test with and without.
So this
By
is plugged in
taking-
and that's plugged in.
Okay,
right now,
so right now that's plugged in. So let's do everything on, and then we can remove everything, or I'll just step off the mat. So what I'm going to do is take these two and attach these to my body, so I'm grounded on the mat and also grounded via the outlet. So I'll attach this one here.
Belly button stickers.
Yep. Attach that one there. Okay. So there we go.
So we're still at around 130 millivolts.
Okay, so my body voltage is 130 millivolts when I'm standing on the grounding mat with the grounding patches attached to me.
And then you have about 7 microamps.
So is that good or bad?
And the microamps is measuring again
Dirty ground.
dirty ground. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so theoretically, if I were not on this, I would see higher dirty ground.
Maybe.
Okay.
It might be lower or higher. We just
Okay.
need to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep those. We're just going to see what happens when I unplug this.
Okay, so first thing we did is we unplugged the 2 patches that were attached to my body. Any change?
Didn't make much of a difference. Now we're at 400 millivolts.
And what was that before?
300 and I think it was, we'll have to go back on the video. It was
Or you could just plug it in
thing.
again if you want.
Yeah. So we're at 400 millivolts. Now we're at 120 millivolts.
Okay. So it was dropping the voltage potential in my body when I'm plugged into these grounding pads or patches.
Now you dropped even more from the stake outside.
So the
When I
stake outside
unplugged
is
that-
also dropping me.
Well, I unplugged the stake outside, so
And it
now
dropped.
you're at 93 millivolts.
Okay, so it appears that the patches that are attached to my body that are plugged into the grounded outlet seem to be assisting by dropping the body voltage, but standing on the grounding mat, which is attached to the stake outside, is raising the body's voltage.
That's what it appears.
So
right
of
now.
the grounding strategies that I'm using thus far, it appears that by plugging into the actual wall outlet, it seems superior than plugging into like a stake out in the ground.
That's showing how much voltage is going through your body.
Now let's see if I do nothing at all, like take these patches off, or you could just unplug that and have the grounding unplugged. Okay, so now I'm not grounded at all using any fancy grounding devices. Where am I at?
And you're at about 1,900
Okay,
millivolts.
so it definitely jumps up when
Well, it's
I
going
remove-
up and down right now.
Yeah,
180. Let's see what the microamps are. Not much change there. So here's the thing about this is we need to measure the ambient fields that are in the air and where they're going, where they're coming from, where they're going. Because when your body's grounded, just like if we ground the desk or the wall, then there's current flowing through your body to the ground continually.
Okay.
And it's going through right now it's going through the meter instead of through your body because your body's not grounded.
right.
Now let's see, if I just have you touch this, then your body's grounded.
And that drops.
And that drops all the
As we
way.
would expect, if I were grounded, the body voltage would drop.
Right. And it doesn't, and then it goes back up when you're not grounded.
Okay.
So I'm gonna grab one more piece of equipment in the other room
Okay.
and we're gonna show something.
So what we're determining right now, folks, is whether these grounding and earthing products that aren't the same as going outside barefoot necessarily, but that instead cause you to be standing on a grounded surface or wearing patches that supposedly ground your body are actually dropping the body's voltage, especially in a somewhat EMF-rich environment. In this case, a room with the computer plugged in and
Okay, so there's voltage coming to this product here.
I can flip this on and see how much more we get. So this is the Nano V I just flipped on, and this is something that's often running next to my desk
So
during
now
the day
you've
of
got
work.
4.8 volts.
And we don't have any of the grounding devices plugged in or turned on right now. Okay, so now I'm going to run this. Okay, so now we have a device running that's generating some amount of an electrical field, which we would expect. Is that significant, Brian?
Yeah, so measure your body. 1.3 volts, 1,300 millivolts. And then it's got all this voltage coming through here.
Mm-hmm.
Now what I want to do is I want...
To ground me and see if that
I'm
drops?
going to ground you, and I'm going to
Okay.
show something here. So I'm
Okay.
going to ground you right here to the
Okay.
electrical
And
ground.
do we want to ground me also via the mat or just that?
Just that for now.
Okay.
So now your body voltage is showing as 95. But look, this is still really high.
Uh-huh.
So where is this going? Here, take
Straight
your
in, straight into my body.
Yeah, so take your other hand and put it right in front of the antenna between the Nano V. Between the Nano V and this. See how that goes away? Now take your hand away.
Oh, wow.
So when you put your hand right in front of that, you're blocking that electric field. It's going through your body and not hitting the antenna. That's essentially what's happening when you're using this to measure your body voltage. Is
Right.
It's going through your body instead of through the meter. So it's
Right.
not registering on the meter.
Right.
And if you check the continuity between this, we can actually check the continuity of your skin with this meter too.
And so what we're determining then is that if I'm grounded in an EMF-rich environment, my body is essentially working a little bit more like an antenna.
Yeah, you are becoming a part of the wiring system where the voltage is returning to the grid.
Now, what we need to test, however, is whether there's a difference when we are grounding by bringing this metal stake in through the ground outside versus the home's electrical system, right?
Yeah, we need to see which one's
Okay.
lower. So hold that side, and then hold this side on the other hand. So now I'm going to test what's called continuity or resistance of the skin. So it looks like 0.6 mega ohms. And then if I actually just test the meter itself, I'll just test continuity here. I need to test it the opposite way. I forgot. Oops. I need to test another
Okay.
multimeter with a multimeter. So if I test this, it's 12 mega ohms. So the skin's resistance is less resistance than the meters themselves. And
Right.
so that means that if there's a lower voltage on your body, the voltage is going to travel through your body instead of through the meter, so it won't register on the meter.
Right. That makes sense. So that meter isn't going to help us to measure that significantly what's going on here with the grounding mat then.
Yeah, we can measure the difference in voltage between the grounding mat directly and the...
Okay. So now let's unplug the patches, then plug the grounding mat in and see if it's still producing an issue. But essentially what it looks like is if I'm using the home's grounding outlet and running something that's producing a lot of EMF in the same environment, my body is going to be acting as a little bit of an antenna. And now we're going to find out whether if I'm grounded using the ground outside instead, if my body is still being used in that way, or whether
Right.
that's a safer way to ground.
And then we also want to measure the beneficial frequency. So which one are you getting more DC current from?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm testing the ground that's outside with the house ground, and the difference here, it's about 360 millivolts difference between outside versus inside. Microamps is a lower reading, 3.8. $380 millivolts difference between the two. And then we'll test the DC current. Actually, we'll test the DC voltage first. 855, 860 millivolts. That's the microamps. So I got 8.0 microamps DC, which is great.
Okay.
And it should be the same the other direction, actually. We'll just keep that plugged in, and you're definitely getting more grounding.
So what he's testing, Reverend Taryn, is the amount of grounding current that is produced by the outlet in the wall versus the amount of grounding current that is delivered from a stake planted out in the ground. And the amount delivered from the wall, you're saying, is more, Brian.
More, yeah.
Yep.
And you're also getting transfer of AC current. So this is why when we recommend to do the shielding and the grounding, that everything has to be grounded at the same location.
Mm-hmm.
If you have two different ground potentials that are like 300, even 100 millivolts difference, there's going to be an influx of energy from
Right.
one place to
So
another.
theoretically, I should not be standing on a grounding mat, grounded outside, and at the same time be grounded via like a patch that's grounded inside.
Right.
I should have one grounding source, and I think we still need to test, that grounding source should not be turning my body into an antenna.
Right.
And it turns out that if I'm grounded using the house grounding, even though it's dropping my body's voltage potential, it's also exposing me to a higher amount of EMF produced by any of these EMF emitting devices in my office.
Yeah.
And so the next step then would be to say, okay, is grounding via the outside stake that is staked into the ground going to also produce that same effect? And so what we would
Right.
do then is we would plug this one back in and unplug that one, which is already unplugged.
Yeah, we'll plug it into...
And then test me with this Nano V running, but with this guy, with that white cable plugged into the grounding mat, and find
Yep.
out if this is a safer way to ground than being grounded into the actual outlet of
Here's
the
what
wall.
I'm going to do. I'm going to take this. I'm going to use this because now that's connected to you, and this is the
Mhm.
ground. So I'm going to ground.
And I can remove these patches if I need to.
Yeah, leave the patches on because you're
Okay.
going to be my ground source. All right, I'll take this out. Calm there. All right, so now I'm connecting to this ground to test that. And this is connected to Ben's body, which is touching the grounding mat. And now got just a tiny, tiny bit of DC current. .45 millivolts. .120 to 150 hertz. That's just like static electricity.
Okay.
Okay. So to me, it looks like the outside is a lower voltage potential.
Right. So if I were going to have my body grounded, especially if I'm running devices in here, it's better to be grounded via stake that is staked into the outside ground versus being grounded into the wall.
Right, but we need to block all the electric fields from hitting your body. That's the first step, and then
And how would we be doing that?
well, we need to first, the walls being shielded is a first step, but then all the devices need to have a shielded and grounded power strip here. All the cords would need to be either replaced or put behind something that's grounded, so that the electric field's not coming toward you.
Yep.
That way, it's acting like what your hand was acting like when your hand was grounded. You acted as a shield,
Yep.
and it blocked the electric field from coming onto the antenna. So
Right.
if your body's an antenna, we need to block the whole
Okay.
antenna from receiving
makes
any
sense.
electricity.
So if people are listening in and they want to outfit their offices in this way, what we'll do is we'll just generate a full report. And as long as we leave my address off and everything, I don't mind putting this in the show notes for people.
Yeah.
So again, it's going to be bengreenfieldfitness.com/shielded healing podcast. And Brian will just show his full setup that he recommends as far as the cables, any grounding equipment, and anything else in the office for mitigating the EMF in here. In which case, once you've taken care of all of that, if you were going to use one of these grounding mats, you'd want it, if you're able to, and you're on a ground floor office, have it just run straight through a window or a door and metal staked into the ground.
Yeah, and it's really important to know that you kind of need to have this stuff tested so you know that you're setting it up right. You
Right.
don't want to spend a bunch of money doing a big
Especially
shielding project.
if you're grounding something outside of your office and you're in the middle of a bunch of office buildings and there's a bunch of power running. We're out in the middle of the forest. So
Yeah.
Okay. What else in the office do you think that we hadn't tested and shown in the last video? Because I know we tested the Juve lights and we were looking at flicker on those, tested the overhead lighting. Anything else in here? I know we're going to test the Morozco Forge, the ice tub out there.
Yeah.
But as far as the office goes, for the actual video and audio part of this podcast, is there anything you think we should test that we didn't show in the other episode for folks?
Yeah, we should. So this should be.
Wow.
All this stuff can be grounded. So these cables here, anything that has a grounded detachable cord, we have shielded versions of that on the website that we
Amazing.
can link, and you can just replace that.
Sweet.
The shielded version. Looks like Juve gave you shielded cords if these are plugged in, so
Yep.
that's good. But basically, it's the same as what these are.
Yeah.
These just plug in like right there to that
Yep.
type of attachment, and then that's grounded. So your monitor has one. We should check your monitor for flicker, and then
Yeah, this is the ISO FlexScan monitor with the Iris software installed, so I would expect flicker to be somewhat minimal compared to a standard monitor without screen protection software installed.
right.
We can
So
flip it on there and see.
yeah, let's see where my flicker meters are here. Okay.
Hey, are you able to test, total random question while you're doing that, not to distract you too much, but are you able to test blood glucose monitors? Or have you before?
I haven't before. That'd be
I'm
interesting.
wearing
though.
one. It'd be interesting.
Yeah,
Test one arm versus the other arm.
Let's turn the lights off for a minute,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yep. Ready? Here we go. Lights off. You want to flip that one off back there, brother?
I think that's the screen.
So we're testing the flicker on the screen now and make sure that Iris is running, which it is. Iris is running in health mode. Here's what it looks like in sleep mode. No difference.
Flickering at 200 hertz.
Is that significant?
Yeah.
Now what if we press mode here? Okay, so that seemed to change it. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, now it's not.
Well, yeah, that's because I changed the display, but what I meant to do here, was go,
Why does
go
it?
to here. Here we go.
It seemed fine for a minute, and then
Well, it's because I totally disconnected the actual input, so I wasn't taking the input for a second there. That's paper, movie, user. That doesn't seem to make a difference.
see this one. There's your Apple screen.
Apple screen.
There's this new monitor.
Why is this one so much less?
So what I found with the Iris is the Iris does a good job if the screen is healthy itself, if the screen is modulated properly, does a good job with the blue light and can adjust some other settings and everything, but you're kind of limited by the hardware of
And this
the
hardware,
screen
I mean, this is
itself.
the ISO FlexScan monitor that is supposedly lower flicker and is a more retina-friendly monitor. But it's producing more than the native MacBook monitor would appear.
Well, wait,
Yeah. So the monitors
Yeah,
that
we
I've
tried that.
the monitors that I've been using and recommending are the ones that have eye care technology.
Yeah.
And so there's some by Asus and Acer. They're the kind of like gaming monitors.
Can you include those on the report?
Yeah.
Because I'll make sure that that's in there for people to see. Because
Yeah.
I'll totally replace this if you know that those produce less flicker. Because
Yeah.
obviously this is producing something, right?
Yeah, a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nothing.
Which,
there.
and I'm staring at this screen like at least 4 or 5 hours a day
Yeah.
working.
Now, if we flip back on the lights, here's the interesting thing.
I flip those on.
Usually that will help reduce somewhat, but we're not there.
So you're getting less with the lights on?
Yeah.
Huh.
So
So with the lights on in the office, I'm getting less flicker
Yeah. So
from the monitor.
So the incandescent bulbs, they're filling in the gaps of the flicker, and that causes there to be.
Go ahead and flip those lights on again. Let's try my red light now. This is how I work at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you should get one of the lights that your boys have. They're gonna get upstairs.
All right, so we're gonna be changing up some stuff in the office for sure. Might be outfitting with a new monitor. Wow. Learning all sorts of good stuff. All right, cool.
So,
Wow. Lots of stuff to change up in here, fellas.
yep. And
no
then we just need to
surprise
get the
there, though.
cords under control.
Yeah.
So you got
Yeah.
some grounding stuff. Some things grounded here. I see that's good.
Yeah.
But we just need to
Yeah.
figure out
Well, if
which
you-
ones are live cords, and
Yeah.
then those ones, if they could be replaced, we replace them. If not, then we need
Yeah.
to kind of
And
stuff
if you got to
them.
pop in here later on too, that's fine. If you need to go through and test everything.
Yeah.
All right. The other things I wanted to show while we've got the video is the let's see. Oh, we wanted to do the Morosco Forge. That was the main one. The Morosco Forge. So let's go out and test that one.
All right. So that we're going to test grounding and let's see.
Woo! Icy ice. Look at that. That is, so there should be a temperature probe in there if you pull up that black cable. That temperature probe, the reason the ice froze is someone took that out of the Morosco. You put it through that metal thing, right? So it sinks down to the bottom because you want that metal probe as close down to the bottom as possible. There you go. And then you just, once it's through, then drop the whole thing in there. So that thing sinks. There you go. And what we want to test ideally with this unit is we want to make sure that all of this control, you know, let's say somebody's sitting in the ice tub and they're doing like a 10-minute ice bath and their head is like resting right here. You know, what are they getting exposed to? That's the question.
So that motor is on usually when you're in there.
So the motor will turn on occasion when it needs to fluctuate the temperature. So what we'll do is maybe just to start that occurring. Oops. Okay. Okay, so this thing's running now.
All right.
And all I'm curious about is if we're getting much EMF produced from this.
Doesn't look like there's much magnetic field. Here, we should see if we need to ground the tub or if the tub's already grounded. We need to verify that.
Okay.
So that's what we'll do here. Plug into
Hey,
this
NASA, you up there? Do you know if he ever figured out that outlet, if he fixed that outlet on the side wall for the Morosco? That guy? Remember when Adam's brother was looking at the electricity?
Yeah, he's coming later.
Oh, okay. So he's still working on that one. Cool.
Okay. All right, which one of you boys wants to hop in the tub?
Nobody wants a little post-lunch soak?
No, we'll just check it on the.
Yeah, for some reason right now an ice bath doesn't sound appealing.
All right. So current, let's start with that since I'm already on the setting.
Hey, River and Taryn, come check this out, guys. Remember, this is a learning day for you guys, okay?
So watch what he's doing here.
So I'm checking the water itself for current. And there is there's some electrical current in the water. Let's see the voltage. So this is grounded. 0 voltage on the tank and in the water.
Well, that's good.
Current, I'm wondering where that's coming from. So if I'm probably from the house ground to
Yeah,
the
right
body
now I have
here.
it plugged into the office, although normally we actually had an outlet fail out here. Normally I'd have it plugged in out here, but I'm just running the extension cable into the office
Okay.
to power this thing. But it should, I don't think that would make much of a difference.
No, it shouldn't make too much of a difference. So 120 toward the house.
So basically, the water's pretty good.
Yeah, let's see how much DC current you guys are getting. So I'm getting DC just standing here barefoot, 7.8 microamps. DC current standing barefoot. If I lift one leg up, like a flamingo, I'm at like 5.
But the DC current that you're getting, is that just from the normal ground?
Yeah, that's from the ground. That's the beneficial.
That's
what you
just
want.
grounding or earthing, right? What you
Look at that.
When you're in the water, that's huge. That's super significant.
Yeah,
So that water is somehow charged.
it's really good grounding.
Have you seen that before? I mean, is that a good thing that it's grounded like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's very, very good.
So that means that you're not getting exposed to dirty electricity when you're bathing in a cold tub because the tub's properly grounded.
Yeah. So
That's
you're
good.
you going in there in there. That's like more of grounding therapy than grounding all day.
That's awesome, guys. That's
Like-
good to know, huh? Because River and Tara and I are in here almost every day.
Yeah.
Not every day, but
I've been in here every day for the past 2 weeks. So, I mean, only for like 3 minutes because it's kind of cold.
Yeah.
probably like
Yeah.
So as long as this is properly grounded and you're surrounded in that grounding material and you're wet and your body's conductive, you're going to be
Alright.
getting really, really
Two
good.
thumbs up. So what we do is you do the biocharger and then you just go like re-ground yourself after the biocharger in the ice tub. There's your 1-2 combo. Charge yourself up and then restore your normal electrical current. Cool. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
A little
that was
peace
really
of
cool.
mind.
All right.
All right.
While we're out here, we can just check on the ground itself. And I'll do the AC and the DC. So from the house ground to the ground outside, I've got like 9 microamps of DC, but I got 34 microamps of AC. So this microamp reading, Sam Milham, the author of the Dirty Electricity book, one of the world experts and epidemiologists on dirty electricity and all things EMF, he says that there's a government study that shows 18 microamps as being carcinogenic of this contact current for alternating current.
Now, where would an alternating current be coming standing out here in the forests out in the middle of the grass?
That's ground current that we're getting
From the wiring in the home?
from the wiring in the home, or coming
Surrounding homes.
from like the electrical distribution.
Got it. And is that something that can be mitigated?
Only if you have a completely conductive surface in an area where you're not acting as a conduit. Right now, I'm getting some kind of field from somewhere, and my body's a conduit for the ground.
Wow.
So I need to be shielded from.
When you say a field
that
from
field.
somewhere, would that be from a tower?
It
or
could
from
be
something in the ground?
It could be from the ground going through my body to the house, or the house this way.
That way and a tower that way.
Yeah, this would be more like dirty energy going on the ground.
Huh.
Well, also remember, Dad, they
Makes
took
me wonder about what would be out here in the middle of
They took
nowhere.
out that tower that was doing the internet thing that was right by
Yeah.
Baby's
But this would be something traveling through the ground, not through the air that he's measuring.
Maybe the water in the aquifer.
Well, it could be that. Could be one of those geothermal spots that he was talking about.
Yeah, there's potential for that. So one of the things, with the geopathic stress or the telluric currents, is that because there's conductivity in the Earth's surface, we also have all these man-made frequencies that are penetrating into the Earth and conducting onto those natural conductive surfaces on the Earth's crust. And so those are resonating and vibrating and sending out frequencies themselves because of how much we've saturated the Earth with these frequencies. So let's see.
Interesting. So guys, we're even getting frequencies just from the Earth being like an electrical grid right out here in the forest. Although some of it could be these natural geopathic stressors too. You testing that grounding stake?
Yeah, I want to test from there to my body.
Okay, well he's testing this. I'm going to mute myself because I have to go take another leak. We don't want the sound of the waterfall on the mic, so I'll be right back.
Yeah, we should have mystery waterfall over there. Yeah, we should have. So peaceful. I want water trees or something.
So I'm just getting a few spikes of the alternating current out here. When I ground to the stake in the ground outside, I'm not bringing in any current through the meter itself. So grounding out here is definitely more healthy than grounding near the house.
So the farther you go, the more healthier it gets. It's like the perfect grounding chair. You just sit on a rock that's shaped like a chair.
That's great. Here, let's test you over there. Here, so just go ahead and hold the end of that. So 3.5 microamps DC. There's no AC on your body. The AC is the man-made. The DC is what comes from the earth, God-made.
Yeah, that's it. No AC is 1 DC.
All right, and voltage is 0, and DC voltage is 270 millivolts, which is good.
We did recently have a thunder last night, so yeah, we did have a storm before my last night.
Yeah, it was storming pretty hard.
There was some lightning, so yeah, lightning.
You know, when there's a thick clouds like that with a thunderstorm, it makes it so the satellites don't work as well. So like when I was driving here last night, my GPS wouldn't lock into where my car was driving to. So normally I load the GPS beforehand and go, but it wasn't loading because the clouds were so thick it was blocking the satellite signal for the GPS, which is about 9.1 to 9.4 gigahertz. So normally we're just pretty much bombarded with those frequencies all the time.
Now, as far as satellite frequencies, when we're in our home, would some of these shielding technologies like the paint and the curtains and stuff be helpful when we're inside our house?
Yeah, definitely.
We just need like giant sun hats when we're outdoors now.
Yeah, big umbrellas.
Yeah.
Something.
Scary. All right, so as you guys have been listening into, so far we have looked at the bedroom, the kids' bedroom, our bedroom, devices plugged into the bedroom, wiring in the bedroom, and things that we can do to help mitigate the effects of EMF while we are asleep. We also looked in the living room at different signals like radio frequencies, cell phone towers, things that might be bouncing around the living room. We looked at the so-called Zen Den, where all the biohacking equipment is, and determined that there were certain elements in there that could also be shielded, particularly the walls and the windows, to protect from some of the frequencies that are pouring in through the house from that angle. And in the office, we looked at certain types of grounding technologies that may or may not work, determined that, for example, grounding to the ground outside could be better than grounding through an outlet, that grounding in and of itself could potentially be harmful if you're surrounded by a bunch of EMF producing devices. And in addition to that, when we were up in the bedroom and also on the main floor in the EMF blocking tent, we looked at a lot of these wearables, a lot of these things that you might be exposed to on your body or plugged in next to you during a night of sleep, and determined that many of these can be problematic, even like a grounding mat on the mattress while you're in bed at night, if you also have electricity that you're getting exposed to via, say, like wiring in the wall, or electricity from cell phone towers, or other forms of, say, satellite radiation that are coming in through the windows. So even in the Greenfield house, which is, somewhat safe place to be, theoretically, all hardwired Ethernet and, not a lot of smart appliances, not a lot of Wi-Fi, etc., you can see that by adding things like grounding paint, shielding paint, shielding cables, and also paying attention to what's plugged in where, how close devices are to the body that are being used, and even beginning to test using some of the meters that that Brian talked a little bit about in the beginning of this show, and also a lot about in the other show that we did, begin to identify which wearables you're wearing that could be kind of producing more cons than pros as far as the amount of electricity you're exposing your body to. So Brian, walk people through like the type of things that you're going to then proceed to do behind the scenes next here in the house, and what kind of the next steps are when someone does an analysis like this.
Yeah, so it's really important to understand that like this is a specific situation. Just like each person is different, each house is very different. We find all kinds of things in other houses that we didn't even touch on here in this podcast, just because we didn't find some of the issues that are commonly found in other homes. So sometimes it requires a lot more detective work to figure out where a signal's coming from, what's happening, and I've amassed all this equipment to be able to detect exhaustively while I'm in a home for 3 or 4 hours what exactly needs to be done, what needs to be mitigated, what's emitting, and then come up with a protocol for that actual space. So it's like a whole protocol for the home. We kind of have a hit list on what the priorities are as you go down. And so with your house, I'd say, from the first analysis to now, not much has changed with the primary recommendations, but we've actually touched on a few little fine-tuning things. So we typically leave people with a full shielding protocol and priorities, and then we come back for a free retest afterwards, and we do the fine-tuning things after someone's shielded. That way we could say, okay, move this device over here, and then your body voltage goes down to where we like to see it. So after we implement some of this stuff, we'll probably do a part 3 where we come back and show how everything is now.
Because for us, it'll be kind of over the course of this whole summer where we'll actually be investing in our health, which honestly, like I told you guys, I committed to really reaching out to Brian again. And while I implemented a lot of this stuff from his last recommendation list, like more of the dirty electricity filters and a lot of kind of like the 80-20, the low-hanging fruit, the hard shielded Ethernet cables, moving a few things around, being farther from certain devices. Now we're going to take things to the next level. We're going to do the paint, we're going to do the fabric, and we're going to go all out, because I am convinced that there's one place that I want to be a sanctuary, an oasis for our pets, our kids, ourselves, our brains, our bodies, even the food that we getting exposed to these type of radiations. I want it to be as safe as possible. So what I'm going to do is, again, even though Brian pointed out that this is going to be different for every setup,
when Brian generates his list of final recommendations based on his initial analysis and the secondary analysis, I'm going to put those in the show notes so you guys can see them. If you go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/shieldedhealingpodcast, I'll also link to the first podcast that Brian and I did, and also to all the different meters and pretty much anything Brian sends over to me that he thinks would be useful to have featured in the show or helpful to you guys, I'll put in there. So we'll put really comprehensive show notes for you guys, and you can also leave your questions as well for Brian or I, who will jump in and reply to your questions at bengreenfieldfitness.com/shieldedhealingpodcast. So I would definitely check out part 1 that Brian and I did. Listen, of course, to this one, part 2, take notes, go back, check the show notes, and then in part 3, once we have done the full meal deal and done like gold standard shielding of a home, we'll come back and in a future episode, we'll retest everything and see how ironclad everything actually is. So, did we cover it?
I think so. Just try not to be overwhelmed. I know there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We're living in a world where things are getting more and more saturated all the time. It's more important now than ever to shield ourselves and try to recreate that ancestral caveman type of environment in our homes. And so I just think that, as we continue to go on, we shouldn't feel overwhelmed, because that's a stressor as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And we talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it's not about worry. It's not about making yourself even more sick by fretting about all these things. It's about proactively taking the steps you can take now, looking at this as a journey, as you're gradually identifying the things that are going to be the big game changers for you when it comes to your mental energy, your physical energy, your sleep, your recovery, your performance. And as you implement these things bit by bit, you get better and better. Just like the greatest monk in the universe didn't wake up or be born in full enlightenment. It's years and years of meditation and study and yoga and breath work. And the same goes for something like this. You take small steps, and eventually you'll get to the point where you're living your life in an environment in which everything that you have control over, you're able to control. But in the meantime, as you get there, this isn't about fret, it's not about worry, it's not about all or nothing, dropping everything, going to fix everything at once. It's about taking these little steps to gradually optimize. And I hope that my own journey in doing this is going to be helpful for you guys. So thanks for watching.
That's good.